So hey guys, how are you all? Welcome to Phoenix What If. So we are back with a brand new movie on what if Naruto fell in love with Mashiro Kuna in Bleach World. But before we start, be sure to subscribe to our channel and like this video. Now let's begin the story. It was a beautiful day in Konoha as a 13-year-old boy about 5 feet 0 inches with spiky blonde hair and blue eyes walked to the Hokage's office. He was wearing a pair of white loose baggy pant with black trim and a sash that held his Zanpakuto Keke Genkai at his side, while he also had a matching jacket with black trim that he left it open to show off his abs since he didn't wear a shirt. It was the same as Grimmjow's outfit. You couldn't see his face due to a white mask that had the shape and look of a fox. He's lived a nice life, but deep down he hated the village and wanted to get out, but it not like that was going to happen anytime soon. He always had the clans backing him because of who his parents were, but the civilians hated him because of the Kyuubi. It didn't help much with a mask that can appear at any time you are mad at someone. He's only had the mask for 3 years. He was nowhere at keeping it in control for no more than 6 hours without his tenant taking control. It was around that same time he met his Zanpakuto spirit. She was nice, a little flirty but nice. She didn't have an actual name beside the Zanpakuto name Keke Genkai. He started to call her Naru since she looked like a female version of him. "So Naruto, what do you think the old man wants?" a feminine voice said in his head. "Don't know, Naru-chan, but it sounded important," Naruto said to his Zanpakuto spirit. "A word to the wise kid, you better drop the mask soon, it almost been 6 hours, another feminine voice said. "All right Kyuubi-chan, I'll drop it when I get into the old man office. The at the front hates me," Naruto said to the Kyuubi. "All right, but just be careful," she said, nodding to her host and smiled at Tsukihime. "Okay," Naruto said as he walked up to the tower and passed the at the desk, glaring at her while releasing so much killer intent the woman fainted. He muttered as he walked to the door of the old man's office and opened it and noticed 3 people he never seen before. One was a well-rounded man about 8 feet 5 inches with golden eyes and pink hair, wear what looked like to be an olive green suit. The standing next to was a man wear a green track suit. He was about 6 feet 11 inches. He couldn't tell what color his eye were due to a pair of sunglasses, and hair looked almost like a shuriken. The last man looked a little crazy. His was about 5 feet 11 inches with brown eyes, light gray, silver hair. The 2 shorter men to be about 30 while the tall man looked maybe 34. "You wanted to see you, old man," Naruto said, making the 3 unknown men look at him shocked. "That's a hollow mask, but how?" the 3 men thought at the same time, looking at fox-like hollow mask on the boy's face. "Yes, I did, Naruto. I can see you have more control of the mask," the old man said, looking at Naruto. "Not really, just level 1. I can barely control level 2. Naruto said as his mask started to crack and fall off his face, showing he had 6 whisker marks on his face, 3 on each cheek. "I see, but to the main reason I called you here, you see, due to the village's constant death threats on your life, you will have to leave the village, but luckily there are people who will take you in," the old man said, seeing a smirk on Naruto's face showing that he was happy to be leaving the village. "I see, so the council is banishing me then," Naruto said, seeing the old man nod his head. "Fine, then I want everything that belongs to my parents, everything in the house and bank accounts. I want to leave nothing to those assholes," Naruto said as the old man spoke up. "Already done, Naruto. These men over here have everything that belongs to your parents, even the house," the old man said, getting an even bigger smirk out of Naruto. "Good, when do I have to leave?" Naruto asked, looking at the old man. "The council wants you to leave within the week, but knowing you," the old man said as Naruto cut in. "I leave within the hour and disappear from this village, never to be seen again," Naruto said as the man with pink hair spoke up. "Very well then, young man, if you are ready we can leave and head for our home in Karakura town. You will be more welcome in our family," the man said, looking over at the boy and smiled. "Right, well I guess this is goodbye, old man, for good," Naruto said as he looked over at the 3 and nodded his head as though he was telling them he was ready. "Well then, let's go, we have a long way to go," the man with the afro said, walking to the door. "Bye, old man," Naruto said as he walked out of the office for the last time in his life, never to see the man again. Everything then started to fade to black. Dream fade. That dream again. What is going on? A 16-year-old Naruto asked as he woke up and tried to move on to feel weight on his chest. Upon looking down he noticed a green-haired girl sleeping with her head on his bare chest with a smile on her face. This is none other than Mashiro Kuna. To the normal eye she may look like a normal 5-foot girl with green hair and hazel eyes, but to other who knew her she was ex-lieutenant of 9th Squad and a visored who just so happens to like wearing a white bodysuit with orange gloves, boots, and scarf with a set of goggles on top of her head. "Mashiro, get up," Naruto said, shaking the girl, making her open her eyes, and looked up at Naruto for a little bit before kissing him and then using a shunpo to disappear. "Damn pervert," Naruto mumbled, getting out of bed. Over the years Naruto's been here, he's grown only 5 inches but still kept what he wore 100 years ago. "What's wrong, Naruto?" a voice asked, coming up from behind, making him jump only to see that it was Kensai Mugaruma, another visored and one that Naruto looked up to like an older brother, one of the ones that brought Naruto here in the first place over 100 years ago. He had light gray, silver hair with brown eyes and was about 5 feet 11 inches. He was wear a dark purple ace shirt with white trim, in addition to green cargo pant, black combat boots, and a pair of orange fingerless gloves, and a series of piercings, 1 on his left eyebrow and 3 on his left ear. "God damn it, Kensai, don't do that, you asshole," Naruto shouted while he glared at the man. "Sorry, Naruto, but anyway, what's wrong? I heard you mumbling something as I walked by your room," Kensai said, looking at young man. "It's Mashiro," Naruto said, making Kensai raise an eyebrow at him. "What'd she do this time?" Kensai asked, looking at him, hoping that she didn't cause trouble like she usually does. "Let's see you pick. She was in my room, sleeping on my bed, laying on me," Naruto said as Mashiro came back into the room wearing a white skirt and matching shirt that hugged her, showing off her C-cup chest. "Get out of my room, you green-haired pervert," Naruto shouted. "What, you didn't like that kiss?" Mashiro asked as she came over to Naruto, swinging her hips, making Naruto's eyes follow her hips as they swung left and right. "Kensai, do something about her, man," Naruto said, shaking himself free from the perverted thoughts to looking at Kensai only to see that he was gone. "You asshole, don't you dare leave me up here with this pervert," Naruto shouted as Mashiro came closer to him. "What's wrong, Naruto-kun, don't you like me?" Mashiro asked a little sadly. "Mashiro-chan, of course I like you," Naruto said, as she got closer to him. "Then why does it seem like you want to push me away? I really like you, Naruto, but why won't you let me get close to you?" Mashiro asked, looking Naruto in the eye. "Because Mashiro, it's not that I don't want you close, it's just the way you do it. You come into my room every night while I sleep and curl up next to me. It's a little weird, Mashiro, since we aren't even dating," Naruto said, making Mashiro stop and walk over to the bed and sat down. "Naruto, that's the thing, I want to be yours and only yours, but I don't know how to approach you about it," Mashiro said, looking up at him with a smile. "Every time I approached you about it I would chicken out. That's why I started doing stuff like this. I thought maybe it would tell you how I feel about you," Mashiro said to him as she got up and walked to the door only for Naruto to stop her. "Hey Mashiro," Naruto said, making her look at him. "Yes, Naruto?" Mashiro asked, looking over at him. "Would you like to go out for breakfast?" Naruto asked, making Mashiro do a double take at what he said. WH, what?" Mashiro stuttered. "I said, would you like to go out for breakfast?" Naruto said, making Mashiro go wide-eyed at what he said. "Sure, Naruto, I'll meet you downstairs," Mashiro said, walking out of Naruto's room with wide eyes. "Downstairs? Hey, what the hell's with all the yelling up there?" a girl yelled. She was about 4 feet 4 inches with blonde hair done up in spiky pigtails and brown eyes. She was wearing a white shirt with a red jogging suit that had white strips on it with the first kanji of her name on it and flip-flops. "Shut up, Hiyori," Kensai said, coming down the stairs. "How about?" Hiyori tried to yell only for a man with a shuriken afro looked to hit her on the head. This man was Love Aikawa. He was about 6 feet 3 inches with black hair, wearing sunglasses so no one knew what color his eye were. He was wearing a green jogging suit. "Quit yelling, you idiot," Love said, removing his fist from the top of Hiyori's head. "Damn it, Love, stop hitting me," Hiyori yelled, rubbing her head. "Then stop being annoying," Love said, sitting down with a plate of waffles and bacon. "Would you two stop?" a feminine voice said, walking into the room, 3 others following her. This girl was Lisa Yadamaru, another visored with long black hair and turquoise eyes, red oval glasses. She about 5 feet 4 inches, wearing a sailor fuku. The next was Rojiro Otoribashi, or as everyone called Rose.
He had purple eyes, long, wavy blonde hair, and is about 6 feet 2 inches. He was wearing a black suit with a thigh-length black jacket. He also was wearing a white frilled shirt with frilled cuffs and a high collar, which was untucked. The man next to him, seventh visored in the house, was Shinji Hiriko, a man with chin-length blonde hair, brown eyes, and was about 5 feet 9 inches. He was wearing a Karakura school uniform with a long gray coat and newsboy cap. The last was a well-rounded man about 8 feet 5 inches with golden eyes and pink hair, wearing what looked like to be an olive green suit. This was Hashijin Yushoda. "So where are Naruto and Mashiro?" Shinji asked, looking around the kitchen. "You look in for me," Naruto said, appearing right behind Shinji with his mask on. It was different than the mask in the dream. This one covered him from head to toe except for one leg. His hands looked like a fox's paw, and the face, instead of just the fox-shaped mask, his whole head was covered to make it look like he had a fox's head. "What the hell, Naruto?" Shinji yelled as he grabbed his chest for the heart attack he almost had. "You should have seen your face, Shinji. I thought you were going to piss your pants," Naruto said, laughing as his mask started to break into pieces. "Good one, Naruto," Hiyori said, rolling on the floor laughing at what Naruto did to Shinji. "You still can't control level 7 of your mask," Kensai said, looking at Naruto breaking mask. "No, not yet," Naruto said, as the last of his mask broke apart. "Besides, level 7 is much harder than levels 1 to 6, Kensai. Unlike you guys, my inner hollow is a demon," Naruto said. "True, but I'm surprised that you can have that much control over it at that age," Hashijin said, looking at Naruto. "True, but remember, I've had my inner hollow since I was born," Naruto said as Mashiro came down the stairs. "Naruto," Mashiro said shockingly, since she just left him in his room. "Oh, Mashiro, yeah, you ready?" Naruto said, looking at the green-haired girl.
"Yeah," she said, snapping out of her daze. "Hey, where hell are you two going?" Hiyori yelled.
"I'm taking Mashiro out for breakfast, so bye," Naruto said, placing a hand on Mashiro's shoulder, and disappeared via body flicker. With Naruto and Mashiro, "So Naruto, where are we going?" Mashiro asked as the cloud of smoke appeared around when Naruto used his body flicker to take them somewhere in Karakura town. Final faded.
"Don't know. Where would you like to go, Mashiro-chan?" Naruto said as Mashiro had a tomato-red blush on her face. "I don't know, Naruto-kun. What about Karakura Buffet?" Mashiro says as she points to a building that says Karakura Buffet with a huge smile on her face.
"All right then," Naruto says as he started to walk to the restaurant.
An unknown place in Karakura town. While Naruto and Mashiro were heading to Karakura Buffet, two Shinigamis came to Karakura town through a Senkaimon. The first was a girl with blonde pigtails and blue eyes wearing a Shinigami uniform that was open just enough to show of her cleavage, which was a perfect round D cup with her Zanpakuto on her waist. She looked about 15 years old with a height of 5 feet 6 inches. This was Naruko Uzumaki Namikaze, the spirit princess and third seat of Squad 3.
The second was another girl with short black hair and purple eyes. She was wearing the same outfit as Naruko with her Zanpakuto on her right side. She looked about 15 years old with a height of 4 feet 9 inches. This was Rukia Kuchiki of Squad 13.
"Princess Naruko, you didn't have to come with me," the black-haired woman said.
"True, I didn't have to, Rukia. But I wanted to. Something was calling me here and I thought I told you not to call princess," Naruko said to the girl next to her.
"But it's improper for me to call you anything else," Rukia says, looking up at her.
"True, but I'm not the heir, Rukia. Once my older brother is found, he will be the one to take the throne," Naruko said, looking at the lieutenant of Squad 13. "But I mean Naruko, everyone has been looking for him for years now and no one has been able to find him," Rukia said as both of them jumped up to one of the buildings.
"I know that, but I can feel it in my heart. He is out there somewhere," Naruko said, looking over Karakura town, not knowing that today would be the day she would finally meet her brother.
"With Naruto and Mashiro, thank you for breakfast, Naruto-kun," Mashiro said as she kissed him on the cheek.
"Don't worry about it, Mashiro-chan," Naruto said with a blush on his face, turning away from Mashiro only for his eyes to catch the sight of what looked like to be Shinigamis. How could they have found out that the so-called traitors are here? But if so, how I'm the only one that uses soul form? Naruto thought to himself before he looked at Mashiro, who only looked at him confused.
"Naruto-kun, what's wrong?" Mashiro asked, looking at him. "Mashiro, head home now," Naruto said as his eyes flashed to their hollow state. "Naruto-kun, what's going on?" Mashiro asked, feeling a little scared.
Reapers go. Naruto said, making Mashiro go wide-eyed that Soul Reapers would come to Karakura now.
Right, just be careful please, I can't lose you Naruto-kun. Mashiro said, looking at Naruto. Don't worry, I'll be fine, Naruto said before Mashiro started to run home while he ran the other and then down an alley when he was sure no one could see him.
He took a pill out of his mouth and in a puff of smoke his appearance was changed. While early he had on a black jeans and a blue shirt, he now wore a pair of white loose baggy pant with black trim and a sash that held his Zanpakuto Keke Genkai at his side, while he also had a matching jacket with black trim that he left it open it show off his abs since he didn't wear a shirt, and unlike hair was different, it was shoulder length with red streaks.
Man, I love those Gigai pills, so much easier than carrying around a fake body, Naruto said as he shunpoed to the location of the Shinigamis.
With Naruko and Rukia. Hey Rukia, you feel that Reiatsu? Naruko asked, looking over at Rukia, who nodded her head yes.
I do, but who could give out so much? It's more powerful than the king and queen combined, Rukia said as Naruko nodded, knowing just how powerful her parents are since she went up against her mother once and wound up in the hospital for a week. Hado number 4 Byakurai, a voice said, making them look behind them just in time to dodge the Kido spell. Not bad Shinigamis, tell me what are your names or so I have something to write on your tombstones, the figure said, showing itself to the girls.
You have any clue who you just attacked? Naruko shouted, pulling out her Zanpakuto.
No, which is why I asked you your name, the man said, looking at the girls. Shouldn't you give your name first? Rukia asked, looking at the blonde and red-haired man. Find the names Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze, Naruto said, only for him to be tackled by the blonde girl.
Brother, I finally find you, Naruko said as she cried into his chest.
What do you mean, brother? Naruto asked, making the girl sit up and look at him with a smile.
My name is Naruko Uzumaki Namikaze and I'm your little sister, Naruko said, looking at a wide-eyed Naruto with a smile.
But how, I've been an only kid since I was born, Naruto said, looking at the girl. True, but you see, I was born in Seirei about a year after you were born in the living world. We were supposed to meet when I turned 13, but when mom and dad went to get you, you had already activated your powers. You were gone, nowhere to be found. Years later the leaf was destroyed and all your friends with it. When they came to Seirei they had one thing in mind, finding you, big brother, Naruko said with tears coming out of her eyes as she pulled out a medallion that was cut in half that said Maki and K's on it, making Naruto's eyes go wide at seeing it. I see you noticed that mine only is Maki and K's on it. That's because mom and dad gave you the one that says Uzu and Nami on it, Naruko said as a necklace around Naruto's neck started to glow while Naruto did the same. They're coming together, both Naruto and Naruko said at the same time as both pieces came together, showing what it looked like as a full medallion. You see, Naruto, the medallion shows the truth. I am your sister, Naruko said as she got up off of Naruto and put her hand out for him to grab. I always wanted to know why the medallion was like that, Naruto said as he grabbed his little sister's hand so he could get up. Okay, can you two stop please, I do have a mission, Rukia said, tapping her foot. What would that, Miss Shinigami? Naruto asked, looking at the girl. The name's Rukia Kuchiki, not Shinigami, Rukia said, glaring at Naruto. Very well then, Miss Kuchiki, what is the mission that you have in my little town? Naruto asked, looking at her. It is to guard it from hollows for the next month, Rukia said, getting a laugh from Naruto. That has got to be the lamest mission I have ever heard about, and believe me, Miss Kuchiki, this mission by my accounts is a Ing D rank that only worthy of an academy student, Naruto said as he looked over Karakura town. 100 years I have been looking over this town and nothing but weak hollows, Naruto said, sitting on the ledge of the building. But that just my thought about it. It's your mission, do what you need, just be careful. There is one person here who will see you. Her name is Ichigo Kurasaki, a nice girl who help lost souls try and find peace, Naruto said, looking over at the high school. And how do you know she can see them? Rukia asked. Because I told her that I could, to even though I'm Shinigami born I still need friends, Naruto said as he looked back at his sister and Rukia. Now I should be getting home, the others are probably wondering what taking so long, he said, getting up and walking away before turning back. Would you like to come, Naruko? After all, I do believe that this mission is for only Miss Kuchiki, Naruto asked, holding his hand out. He's right, princess, go with him, I can do this myself, Rukia said as she disappeared in a shunpo. Well, I guess I don't have a choice now, do I? Naruko said, grabbing her brother's hand. Well then, let's go then, Naruto said before they disappeared in a shunpo. Urahara candy shop. Naruto, why are we at a candy shop? Naruko asked, looking at the shop. You'll see, come on, Naruto said, dragging her inside the shop. Hello, welcome to Urahara's, a young girl asked. She was wearing a white shirt with the logo of the shop printed in pink and a pink skirt with white dots. She had purple eyes and long black hair done up in pigtails. Can you please get that lazy-ass bastard for me, Ururu? Naruto asked, looking at the girl. Off nodded and walked off to the back. Naruto, you shouldn't speak like that in front of little kids, Naruko said, glaring at her bother as a tall man with light skin, gray eyes, and messy light blonde hair came out of the back. He was wearing a dark green shirt and pants topped with a black coat with a white diamond pattern along its bottom half. He also had a pair of Japanese sandals and a striped dark green and white bucket hat with a cane in his right hand. Well, if it isn't my favorite customer, Prince Naruto, the man said, only to be hit with the end of pommel of Naruto's sword. Cut the crap, Kazuki, Naruto said as Kazuki got up off the ground and rubbed the spot where he was hit. That's Kazuki, the one Mom and Dad told me to come to if I need anything, Naruko thought to herself. All right, what do you need? Kazuki asked, looking him in the eye. Not me, Kazuki, my sister Naruko needs to place an order, Naruto said, motioning to the next to him.
Ah, Lady Naruko, your parents told me you might be coming, so I already have what you need, Kazuki said, pulling a box out of his coat pocket and tossed it Naruko.
My parents told you? Naruko asked, looking at the man as she caught the box.
Yes, the king and queen told me that you would be coming, Kazuki said, pulling out a fan from nowhere.
Should have known Mom and Dad would do something like that, Naruko said, pulling out the item from the box and looked at it. A pill? Naruko asked, looking at the pill. Yes, that is the advanced version of a Gigai, all wrapped up in an easy-to-care pill, Kazuki said as Naruto took out his Gigai pill. Watch, Naruko, Naruto said, putting the pill in his mouth, and in a puff of smoke. He was now wearing black jeans and a blue shirt. His hair was shorter and the red streak were gone, but he still in his necklace. See, Naruto said, showing that he was now in a Gigai. That's one powerful pill, Naruko said, looking at the pill in her hand before popping it into her mouth. Just like her brother, she was now wearing something different. She was now wearing a blood-red skirt with black shorts underneath and a matching red tank top that stopped above her belly button. It was a V-cut, so you could see some of her cleavage as well. It looks good on you, Naruko, Naruto said, looking at his sister. Thanks, Naruto, Naruko said with a blush. 2 hours later. Naruto and his twin have been walking around Karakura town for the past 2 hours after leaving Kazuki's shop.
So Naruto, how come you haven't tried to contact Soul Society? Naruko asked her brother. It's not that I could, Naruko, it's just that with the way it is now I want nothing to do with it, Naruto said, shocking his sister.
What do you by the way it is now? Naruko asked. Central 46 is corrupt just like any council. All they care about is power, and until they are gone I want nothing to do with that place, Naruto said, swiping a hand through his hair. Naruto, you're not going to kill them, are you? Naruko said, looking at her brother. No, like I said earlier, I want nothing to do with that place, Naruto says, pulling Naruko closer to him. Naruto, what are you doing? Naruko said with a blush as her were pressed up against her brother's chest. Hold tight, Naruto said with a smirk as he focused on a seal that was back at the compound, and within 2 seconds they were gone in a flash of light. Namikaze compound. Damn it, where is he? Mashiro muttered to herself while walking in circles.
Mashiro, stop it already, Kensai shouted. But Kensai, what if something bad happened to him? It'd been 2 hours since I got back, Mashiro said, falling to her knees.
Blondie will be fine, Hiyori said, not even looking at the green hair girl.
Hiyori's right, Naruto will be fine, Lisa said, reading a book, as Naruto and his sister appeared in the room in a yellow flash.
NN Naruto, you're safe, Mashiro cheered as she got up and ran over to Naruto and hugged him while tears came out of her eyes. I thought that you wouldn't make it, Mashiro said as she cried. Hey, come on, Mashiro, I fine, Naruto told her. Hey Blondie, who's the other blonde? Hiyori said, looking at the new girl. Guys, say hello to my younger sister Naruko, he said, making them look at the girl with wide eyes. Your sister? But if that true, then she would be a Shinigami, Lisa exclaimed. Yes, she is Shinigami and don't worry about her, tell Soul Society about you guys. Naruto said with a smile.
But how can you be sure? Kensai asked. Remember that I'm the future ruler of Soul Society, thus you guys can be touched by Central 46 since I hold more power than them. Naruto said as Mashiro stopped crying and let go of Naruto. Beside from the 2 hours that I spent with her, she cares more about family than Soul Society itself. Naruto said looking over at his sister. He's right, family is more important to me than anything else, I would never cause my family any pain. Naruko said with a smile.
Even so, they know where you are at all time because of the limiter that all lieutenant and captain class Shinigami have to use them, including you, Hachi said. That may be true, Hachi, but I took care of the limiter, Naruto said, holding up a small device in his hands. That's the limiter, but how did you get it out of her? Hachi asked, looking at the device. Wasn't that hard to get it out? I just infused her with some of my Ryotsu and a little Kido of my own design, and bingo, no more limiter, Naruto said as he crushed it in his hands. Brother, you shouldn't have done that, Naruko said with wide eyes and what her brother had just done.
Why? He asked, looking at his sister. I'm the spirit princess, remember, and with that gone everyone will come her looking for me. Naruko said in a worried tone, knowing they would think she was a traitor.
Relax sis, this isn't a normal limiter, Naruto said, opening his hat to show that it was still intact. But you crushed it, how can it be in one piece? Naruko said, looking at the limiter. It a royal limiter sis, Naruto says, pointing to a red swirl. That's the mark of the royal family, these things are indestructible, at least that's what Kazuki told me, and it seems to be true if I couldn't crush it, Naruto said as Naruko picked it up and looked at it. Figures mom and dad would use this instead of a normal limiter, but why? Naruko said, looking at the limiter. You said it yourself, Naru-chan, you're the spirit princess, the only one that can take the throne since I'm not there, Naruto said, snatching the device out of her hands. Beside to them, you're more important than Soul Society itself, Naruto said, putting the limiter on the shelf. So what do I do now, Rukia? As a mission, I only came to see if you were in this town, Naruko asks with a frown. Easy, you'll be staying here. I'll call Kazuki and have him set up a few things, Naruto says, sitting down on the sofa. But what do I beside that? Naruko said, only to gulp when she seen Naruto smirk. Naruto stopped smirking. You like mother when you have that smirk, Naruko said, backing up to the wall. Now sis, you must know that kids our age have to go to school, Naruto said, making Naruko go wide-eyed. No, I won't go, you can't make me, Naruko said, shaking her head. Sorry sis, you have to, Naruto said, still wearing the smirk. But I hate school, Naruko said with a pout as she fell on her knees. Don't whine like a little baby, Naruto said, making his sister snap her head up and glare. What did you just call me? Naruko asked in a dangerous tone as Naruto smirked. I think it had something to do with little and baby, Naruto said with smirk as Naruko appeared on Naruto in a flash, but what shocked her was the Naruto she landed on went up in smoke. What the? She said with a shocked tone. You have to be faster than that, Naruto said, making Naruko turn around to see Naruto standing by the wall with a smirk on his face as he pulled out a red lace thong and a matching bra from behind his back. I must say you do wear quite the set of lingerie, Naruko, Naruto said, hold them up as Naruko blushed up a storm. How did you get those? Naruko shouted. What can I say, I'm sneaker than the kitsune that's sealed inside me, Naruto said as Naruko stomped over to him. Keep your hand off my underwear, you ing pervert, Naruko shouted, snatching her thong and bra out of her brother's hands. Not my fault, I grew up with perverts, Naruto said, shrugging his shoulders. Oh, and nice ass by the way, Naruto said, only to dodge a punch that was meant for his head.
Damn pervert, Naruko muttered as she walked away from a snickering blonde.
Okay, there's chapter 1. The beginning was just a dream, so that has nothing to do with the story. The necklace that both Naruto and Naruko have play a part that will be revealed after the rescue arc is over, and the Gigai being a pill is only for Naruto and Naruko and a few others like the Visorids. Now how does Kazuki know the king and queen? Only time will tell. Another reminder is that all the charters will be OOC, the same with the clothes. Seems like Naruto's a little pervert. The following females are a go for Naruto harem: Mashiro, Naruko.
As far as Naruto thought the day was going pretty good, he meets a sister he didn't know he had take her panties and bra off her without her knowing, but like all good thing he knew something big was coming, and it focused around a 16-year-old girl by the name of Ichigo Kurasaki.
"Hey Naruto." A voice called out to him from the living room. "What is it, Naruko?" He answered back. "Is there anything fun to do around town? I'm bored," Naruko said. "Bored? You've only been here for 5 hours, Naruko," Naruto said, walking into the room. "I know, but I get bored easily and very quickly, and a bored Naruko is a no-no," she says with cute face. "Well, I guess I could introduce you to a few people that I know," Naruto said, curling his finger in a come with me fashion. "Who are you going to introduce me to, Naruto?" Naruko asked as she followed Naruto out the door. "Just a few friends from school," Naruto says, making Naruko scowl at the school part.
"I still can't believe you're making me go," Naruko said with a cute pout.
"It won't be that bad," Naruto said, looking back at his sister. "Besides, you won't even be here that long," Naruto said, looking at her with a smile. "I know, it's just I hate the idea of going back to school," Naruko said with a little huff as she turned her head to the side. "Lighten up, Naruko," Naruto said. "And why should I?" Naruko said as glared at her older brother. "Because your older brother told you to," Naruto says as he stopped and looked over at Naruko with a sweet smile, while the head of a bloodthirsty fox appeared behind him with an evil grin, making Naruko gulp in fear at what she was seeing. All right, note to self: never make brother angry, and make sure Naruto and Captain Unohana never meet each other, she thought, looking at the evil grinning fox head behind him. "Naruko, you okay?" Naruto asked, snapping his sister out of her train of thought. "Yeah, I'm fine, Naruto," Naruko said with a smile while trying to forget what she saw. "Well, if you say so," Naruto said as he started to walk away. "Hey, wait for me," she said, noticing how far away he was getting. 20 minutes later. "Here we are, Karakura High," Naruto says, stopping in front of the gates of the school as students were walking out of the school to go home.
"Are you sure I have to go?" Naruko asked, looking at all the kids coming out of the school.
"Stop complaining, Naruko, you're going, and that's final," Naruto said, looking over at his sister before his eyes caught the sight of orange hair. "Come on, I found her," Naruto said, grabbing his sister's hand and dragging her along. "Naruto, let go, I can walk, you know," Naruko shouted as her brother pulled her by her hand. "Ichi-chan," Naruto shouted, not even paying attention to his sister, while making a girl with short spiky orange hair and brown eyes look over in the direction of the one who shouted her name. Ichigo, or Ichi-chan as Naruto called her, looked like a normal teenage girl, except that her hair is spiky orange, a trait that she gets ridiculed. She is a fairly tall, with a height of 5 feet 11, with peach skin and brown eyes. She was wearing the usual high school uniform for girls, but what always popped out at Naruto was the girl's developing C-cup chest, which resulted in Naruto getting a fist to the face for always staring at her chest. With Ichigo, Ichi-chan, she heard a voice call out to her. Looking around, she caught the sight of blonde-haired boy with whisker marks walking over to her while dragging another blonde behind him. "Naruto," she said with a blush as said boy stopped in front of her with a smile on his face. "Hey Ichi-chan, what's up?" Naruto asked, looking with his smile never leaving his face. "Nothing, just getting ready to go home," she says, looking at the blonde. "But why are you here? Normal you stay clear of this place on Tuesdays?" Ichigo asked him. "Oh, right, I want you to meet someone," Naruto said, pulling his sister in front of him. "Ichi-chan, I'd like you to my younger sister Naruko Uzumaki," Naruto said with a smile. "Naruko, this is Ichigo Kurasaki, one of my best friends," Naruto said. "It's nice to meet you, Ichigo," Naruko said, extending her hand. "Likewise, Naruko," Ichigo said, shaking the blonde's hand. "I had no clue you had a sister, Naruto," Ichigo said, looking over at her friend. "Well, to tell you the truth, neither did I until today," Naruto said while sheepishly rubbing the back of his head. "How the hell could you not know?" Ichigo asked with a twitching eyebrow. "Well, you see, when I was born your parents sent me to live with some family over in America while Naruto stay here in Japan," Naruko answered while looking over at her brother and then to Ichigo. "I just found out that I had an older brother who lived here in Karakura town, so I came back to find him so we could be a family," Naruko said with a smile as she hugged her brother, who just patted her head. "Wow, nice save, sis," Naruto thought, looking at his sister. Do you know where Orihime, Tatsuki, Shad, Keigo, and Mizuhira are? Naruto asked. They left just a little bit ago, Ichigo said as she looked over at Naruto.
Ah well, looks like you'll have to meet them tomorrow, sis. Naruto said, glancing over at his sister before looking back at Ichigo. You mind if we tag along? Naruto asked her. Sure, she said, shrugging her shoulders as she walked away with Naruto and Naruko following her.
Naruto, why are we tagging along with her? Naruko asked her brother. Well, the main reason is because I need to speak to the idiot she calls father. Naruto said, making Naruko look at him weird while turned her back to look at him with an eyebrow raised. And why do you need to speak to my father? Ichigo asked.
That is a secret, my dear Ichi-chan. Naruto said as they turned down a road and clenched his fist as couple of skateboarders knock over a vase of flowers and laughed about it. Hey holes! Naruto shouted, pushing Ichigo out of the way while one of skateboarders turned around.
You talking to us, kid? One of the punks said, turning around. No, I'm talking to your ugly ass mother, Naruto said, making the punk walk up to him. You got a death wish, kid. The punk said, reaching out only for Naruto to grab the arm and twist it behind the punk's back and slam him to the ground, shocking the friends of the guy who was on the ground as well as Naruto's sister.
Don't even talk or your boy here gets a one-way trip to the hospital, Naruto said in a dark tone, making them freeze. Now let's have yourself a little quiz. Question 1 is for the half pint with the overbite. He says, pointing at the teen. What is that answer now? Naruto said, not changing his tone. A flower vase. The teen says, shaking in fear. Correct. Now question 2 is for you, fat ass. Why was it put there in the first place? Naruto demanded. It could have been for so kid that recital died or something. The fat teen said, shitting his pants. Correct. Now for you. Naruto say, pull the punk head up by his hair. Why the is knocked down? Because why thought it would be funny. The punk said as tears fell from his eyes from the pain that he was feeling. Good, now that I have my answers. Naruto said, getting of the man and placed his right foot under him and smirked. Get thee out and never show your ugly face in that part of town again. Naruto shouted, kicking the man, which sent him crashing into the other two teens who got up as fast as they could and dragged their leader of screaming. Naruto, what the hell did you do that for? Naruko shouted, looking at her brother who was picking up the vase. There you go, sweetie, I'll bring you some fresh flour on my way back home. Naruto said, making his sister look at him crazy while Ichigo just smiled. Thank you, a little girl said, appearing in front of them while it shocked Naruko a little that a plus was right in front of them. You know, Naruto, I would have made them suffer for what they did to the little girl's memorial. Ichigo said, walking over to him while Naruto noticed the shocked look on Naruko's face. Shocked that Ichigo and me can see spirits. Naruto said, looking over at his sister with a look that said play along. When she picked up on it, she nodded her head. Yes, I thought that I was the only one that could see them. Naruko said with a smooth lie as Ichigo looked at her with a shocked look. Get used to, Naruto said, standing up. He's right, sometimes it's hard to get time alone. Ichigo says, walking away with the two blondes following her. Kurasaki Clinic. When the three finally got to Ichigo's house, Naruko was shocked. And why, you ask? Well, when Ichigo opened the door and she was home out of nowhere, a man in his early to late 30s with black hair and brown eyes and tried to kick Ichigo in the face, only for said girl to hold out her foot, which then came into direct contact with her father's face, to which started to escalate into a match of beating the hell out of her father. Don't bother trying, Naruko, Naruto said, looking over at his sister before dragging her into the house and then into the kitchen. Hey Yuzu, Karen, Naruto says, dragging his sister into the kitchen while hearing a groan from Ishin as he hit the wall. Hey Naruto, the girls said, looking over at him. Yuzu Kurasaki was young girl of 11 with light brown hair with short bangs hanging over the right side of her forehead with a red hair clip on the left side of her head and dark brown eyes. She was 4 feet 6 inches. She was wearing a sundress. Karen Kurasaki, just like Yuzu, was 11. She was also her twin sister, but unlike her sister, her hair was black and she had dark gray eyes. For the outfit she was wearing, you could tell that she was a tomboy. Good thing I made extra, Yuzu said, hand Naruto a bowl of fried rice. Thanks Yuzu, you're the best, Naruto said, getting a little blush out of the girl. Oh, before I forget, Naruko, these are Ichi-chan's younger sisters. That just handed me the rice is Yuzu Kurasaki. He pointed at Yuzu, and the one with black hair is her twin sister Karen Kurasaki. Naruto said before he took a bite of the rice. Yuzu. Karen, this my younger sister Naruko, she just moved back after finding out that she had a brother. Naruto said as the girls exchanged hellos while Ichigo walked into the kitchen. The winner by knockout Ichigo. Naruto says as Ichigo shook her head at his actions. Meanwhile, Isshin picked himself off the floor and sat down at the table. So, who's the new girl Ichigo? He asked. She's Naruto's younger sister Naruko. Who can also see ghosts too. Isshin began to cry. Not fair. Why can't I see them? His three kids sighed and didn't answer the rather common question. Unlike on previous nights, he got an answer. It's because you're too old, Isshin. As Ichigo doubled over in laughter at Naruto's statement while her father sobbed piteously. He suddenly stopped and punched Ichigo in the face, knocking her to the ground. That's for being late. Ichigo jumped up and tackled her father. A small brawl started with lots of shouting, amazingly not damaging anything. Naruko's swear dropped. Does this happen a lot? Yeah, Karen said while getting another bowl of rice. Dad thinks it toughens Ichigo up by attacking her without warning. He doesn't realize that he's the one that always ends up with bruises. Naruko and Naruto then noticed someone else in the room. Hey Ichi-chan, you've got a visitor. Ichigo stopped his yelling at his father, and spotted the glasses-wearing ghost. I think it's cool to see ghosts, don't you, Karen? Naruto asked for no reason. No, I don't believe in ghosts. I'm in denial. Naruto just frowned at what he heard her say. Suddenly there was a yell of, dropped your guard. And Ichigo was pinned to the floor until she threw her father off of her. They stood, lined up, and swung, once again hitting each other in the face. Isshin collapsed again. The lesson was free. Came the mumbled answer to the reason behind the fight. Ichigo grunted. Never mind dinner, I'm going to my room. I see you and Naruko at school tomorrow. Ichigo disappeared with a wave. Thanks for the rice, Yuzu. Naruto said, getting out of the chair and walked over to Isshin and grabbed him by the collar of his shirt. I need to borrow your father for a little bit, Naruto said, dragging Isshin out the door before he looked over at Naruko. Naruko, are you coming? Naruto asked, looking at his sister who was still sitting blinking owlishly at what had just happened before shaking her head and ran after her brother. With Naruto and Isshin, Naruto had stopped a good ways away from the Kurasaki clinic just to make sure that Isshin kids didn't hear what he was going to say to their father. He looked over Isshin's shoulder to see his sister running after them. He smiled before looking Isshin in the eye. All right, Isshin, a lot of things are going to be happening around Karakura town. Naruto said with a serious tone that had caught Isshin's attention as well as Naruko, who only heard the last bit of it. What do you mean, Naruto? Isshin asked out of curiosity. Shinigami. Naruto said, making Isshin snap his eye wide open at the word. I see you know about Shinigami. Naruto said with a smirk. Yes, I know about them. Isshin said, knowing from what Kazuki told him Naruto was able to tell if someone was lying to him. But the question is, how do you know about them? Isshin asked the blonde. Now former captain of Squad 10, I'll be the one taking first and then you ask your questions. Naruto said as Naruko went wide-eyed at the fact that this man was a Shinigami, while Isshin was shocked that he knew he was a former captain. Now then, earlier today 2 Shinigami came to Karakura town. Did you sense them, yes or no? Naruto asked the man. Yes, I did, Isshin said, looking Naruto in the eye. Good, then I'll go into further detail. Naruto said, pointing at his sister, which made Isshin look at her with a raised eyebrow. My sister was one of the Shinigami that came here earlier. Naruto said, making Isshin's eyes go wide. That's why I felt Reiatsu coming from her, and here it was Ichigo. Isshin said as Naruto nodded his head yes. Yes, you see, while she was born in Saraite, while I was born 116 years ago in a village called Konohagakure no Seto. Naruto said, looking at the wide-eyed Isshin. And before you ask, no, I am not immortal, Isshin. I was born as a spirit. My mother and father are in Saraite. They have not seen me since the day I was born. Naruto said. Long short, some friends came and took me away from the village because like them I hold a similar power. Naruto said, looking back over at Isshin. Now getting back on topic, these 3 Shinigami are planning to overthrow the king. Naruto said, shocking Isshin and Naruko. And no, Naruko, you cannot tell anyone, even mom or dad, about the upcoming threat. If you do, it will ruin everything. Naruto said looking over at his sister who just looked at him crazy. Naruto, if mom and dad are in danger then I have to tell them. Naruko shouted at her brother. Then what, Naruko? The three who want to overthrow them will not show. So please don't do anything. Naruto said, making his sister scowl and turn away from him. Fine, but if they die I'm kill you. Naruko said with her back turned to him. Don't worry, I have my best agents keep an eye out in Seraite for me. How do you think I know all this? Naruto said, making Naruko snap around with shock written all over her face. But earlier you said you wanted nothing to do with Seraite. Naruko said that her own brother would do something like this. I lied, Naruko, and don't worry, Central 46 won't die by my hands. The traitor will be the one to kill them. Naruto said just as a roar was heard. It has begun. Naruto said, looking back over at the Kurasaki clinic only to see one of the walls get destroyed. Out of the corner of his eye he noticed Isshin getting ready to run to help his family. He placed a hand on his shoulder. Isshin, you can't stop this. Her destiny is to become a Shinigami. Naruto said, holding him in place. Isshin, what would Masaki you right now? Naruto said as a voice spoke up behind. I tell you to let this happen, Isshin-kun. She is meant for great things, and with Naruto and his allies by her side she will become a great woman. You must learn that she needs room to grow. A voice said, making the three look behind them. Naruko was shocked to see another Shinigami, while Naruto was happy she showed up on time, and Isshin was stuttering like an idiot. Why, well, the one that was in front of them was Masaki Kurasaki, the wife of Isshin Kurasaki and mother of Ichigo, Yuzu, and Karen Kurasaki. Masaki was a woman of average height. She had fair skin and long wavy brown hair down her back which was tied in a knot. She was wearing the regular Shinigami garb with her Zanpakuto on her left hip. She wore a smile as she walked up to the three. Masaki, how are still you alive? Isshin said, looking at his wife who had supposedly been dead for 7 years was standing right in front of him with a smile on her face. You can thank Naruto here for saving me. Masaki said, pointing over at Naruto. Sorry Isshin, some secrets are best kept. Naruto said as a huge level of Reiatsu was released, making them look over to Ichigo in a Shinigami garb and a huge sword on her back. That's one big ass Zanpakuto, although it sucks that it's not her true one. Naruto said, making the other three look at him. What do you mean, brother? Naruko asked. You see, that Zanpakuto is not solid because Rukia's Reiatsu is now fighting with her own Reiatsu. One wrong move and the sword goes bye-bye. Naruto said, looking at Ichigo as she destroyed the hollow. He noticed that she was going to faint because what had happened, so flashed over there and caught in his arm bridal style. Urahara, get your ass out here now. Naruto said, looking over in the shadows as said man walked out and into view. How did ya know that I was here? Kazuki said, hiding a smile behind his fan. Because I could smell a pervert nearby. Now take Miss Kuchiki and get her a Gigai and fake school records as well as a set for my sister. Naruto said as Isshin, Masaki and his sister finally joined them. Ah, Masaki-chan, it good to see your smiling face once again. Kazuki said as he pulled out a box from a pocket on his haori and tossed it to Masaki. Just ask Naruto, he'll tell you about what's in the box. Kazuki said as he picked up Rukia and took her to his shop while Naruto and the other look over at the clinic. For the love of Kami-sama. Naruto shouted, looking at the giant hole in the wall. Masaki, here, catch. Naruto said, tossing Ichigo over to her mother who barely caught her in time. She then looked at Naruto who was going through some kind of weird hand signs. Ninja art. Damage reversal. Naruto shouted, slamming his hands on the ground, and within seconds all the damage that was done vanished like it never happened. Naruto, what did you do? Naruko asked, gapping like a fish. Don't worry about it, Naruko. Naruto said, walking into the house so he could heal Yuzu and Karen. When the other got into the house they noticed that he was healing the twins with a light Kido spell. Place Ichi-chan in her room, she just needs to rest, she'll be fine in the morning. Naruto said as Isshin took Ichigo from Masaki and carried her up to her room. While Naruto and Masaki took Yuzu and Karen up to their rooms after he finished healing her. After the little time it took to put the girls in their rooms, the four Shinigami were sitting in the living room. Isshin was about to speak when a phone went off. Hey midget, what's up? Naruto said, pulling the phone away from his ear. Don't call me a midget. Hiyori shouted over the phone for everyone to hear. Yeah, calm down will you? Now what do you want? Naruto asked. The guys felt a huge Reiatsu signature near you location. What's going on? The girl said over the phone. Oh, that was just Ichigo getting a jump start on her Shinigami powers, Hiyori. Naruto said. All right, Hiyori said with a sigh. Hang on, Mashiro wants to talk to you, Hiyori said as he heard her pass the phone to Mashiro. Naru-kun, when are coming home? Mashiro said, making Naruto blush. I'm not coming home, Mashiro, I staying at Ichigo's with Naruko. I'll call you tomorrow, I promise. Naruto said before quickly getting something else in before she hung up. And stay the out of my room, you pervert, Naruto shouted only to hear her giggle as she hung up. Damn pervert, Naruto said, shutting his phone. So can please ask why my wife is alive and is a Shinigami? Isshin asked Naruto. That's easy, she always been a Shinigami ever since I meet her on one of my daily terrorize the out of Seraite days. Naruto said with a smirk as he looked over at Masaki. What? She asked with a raised eyebrow. Oh, just wondering if you still called your Zanpakuto Zan. Naruto said, chuckling as Masaki started to blush as images of her as a kid in the Rukan district hugging a blade and calling it Zan. Zan, Isshin said only to get smacked. Never say that name, she said, pulling her legs to her chest. I haven't been this embarrassed since I hit puberty, Masaki said, crying a little only for Naruto to double over in laughter. It took a few minutes before everything calmed down for Naruto to explain everything to them while leaving out who their parents were and who the traitors were, since Masaki already knew Isshin would find out soon. He told them that he would be taking over Ichigo's training, it not that they did have what it took to try her, it's just he had to pound it into Isshin's head that he couldn't run away forever like he did. It still hurt that he didn't get to say goodbye to what little friends he had. Masaki, I suggest that you and Numbskull there get some sleep, Naruto said, getting a nod out of her. Right, but where are you going to sleep? Masaki asked, looking at the two blondes. Naruko and me will take the spare room, Naruto said. You do realize that there's only one bed into room, right? Isshin said with a raised eyebrow. I'll just share then, because there's no way in the 9 layers of hell am I sleeping on the couch. Those things are not good for the back, Naruto said before devious grin appeared on his face. I don't think Ichi-chan would mind company tonight, Naruto said, grinning like a fox. No, absolutely not. Do you hear me? Isshin shouted. I hear you, but I don't hear you, Naruto says, dodging Isshin's attempt at tackling him to the ground. Don't worry, Isshin-san, I'll make sure Naruto stays in bed with me so long as doesn't touch anything, Naruko told him before glaring her brother. Hey, I'm not that kind of guy. Sure, you're hot as hell, but hell itself would have to freeze over 10 times before I'd even think about ing you, Naruto said, heading to the stairs. I may be a pervert, Naruko, but I would never my own sister, Naruto said, admitting to being a pervert. Come Naruko, we have long day tomorrow, Naruto said, getting his sister to follow him up the stairs. Well, there's chapter 2 people hope you like, and I know it was Ichigo that had the vase scene, but I wanted to do it using Naruto. Now Naruto tell Isshin about a few things is simple because Toshiro and Karen will be getting pair up in it my story, so if I want the Kurasaki family in on everything then that how it's going to be. Now for Masaki, I thought it would be a nice touch making the whole Kurasaki family Shinigami, and I'll be bring back some other dead people not from Naruto but from Bleach. And the reason behind the perverted was because Jiraiya had got to him when he back a genin and turned him to the pervy side of the force. Now drum roll please, the winners of the poll are Retsu Unohana. When Naruto awoke the next morning, he looked over to his left to see his sister still sleeping with a beautiful smile on her face as a few strands of hair hung in front of her face, and brushed them away before getting out of bed and walked over to the closet to get his school uniform. Luckily he kept some here just in case he stayed. After he got dressed, he walked out of the room and noticed Yuzu and Karen walking out of their rooms. Hey Yuzu, Karen, Naruto says, shocking the poor girls. Naruto, what are doing here? Asked a startled Yuzu. Naruko and me stayed the night after what happened, Naruto said, making the look at him confused until images off last night started to come back to them. Don't worry about the creature that attacked Ichi-chan, took care of it, head downstairs, I'll wake her up, Naruto said as Yuzu and Karen walked away while Naruto walked over to Ichigo's room and knocked on the door. He didn't receive an answer, so he opened only to see that she wasn't there. Not here. She must be downstairs then, Naruto said as he shut the door to her room and turned around to walk downstairs as a voice called out to him. Naruto. A voice said calling out to him. Oh, hey Naruko, he said turning aside to see his sister walking up to him. Why are you up so early? She asked still feeling a little sleepy. Did you forget already? Naruto asked looking at her. Forget what? She asked confused. We have school today Naruko. Naruto said getting a pout from his sister. Well no I was just hoping that you would forget about it. Naruko said. Now why would I forget about it? It's not Tuesday so I have to go which mean you have to go as well. So come on. Naruto said grabbing his sister's hand and dragging her downstairs. The kitchen. When Naruto and Naruko got down to the kitchen he noticed that Ichigo and the twins were just standing there looking into the kitchen with wide eyes and mouths open while pointing into the kitchen. Mom h how are yyuaa alive bb but h how? Ichigo says stuttering while pointing to a woman sitting next to his father. Now Ichi-chan it rude to point at people I thought I taught you better. Masaki said to her oldest daughter. That's not the point how are you still alive I watched you die right in front of me 7 years ago. Ichigo shouted. Damn Ichi-chan do you need to be so loud? Naruto said walking up to the girl freaking her out. Naruto what are you doing here? Ichigo said turning around seeing that Naruto and Naruko were standing right behind her. Something came up last night. So we had to stay the night. Naruto said making Ichigo confused at what he said before her eye went wide. The monster from last night. Ichigo says getting a nod from Naruto. Yes the hollow that attacked you and your sisters. Naruto said walking into the kitchen shocking her that he knew what it was. How do you know what it is? Ichigo asked him. I had my fair share of run-ins with them over the years. Naruto said sitting down at the table. Now get over here you three I have something to tell you, the same goes for your mother and your father. Naruto said. Now Naruto I don't think it wise to tell them right now. Isshin said not wanting to tell them what he truly is. You have no say in it Captain Kurasaki and you know at the moment Ichigo became one of them wouldn't you say Masaki? Naruto said with a glare fixed on Isshin making him twitch when he noticed that Naruto's eyes changed to black with eerie yellow pupils. He's right Isshin-kun they need to know the truth behind it all. Masaki said hoping her daughter wouldn't hate her after knowing the truth. And the same goes for you Naruto. Masaki said as Naruto nodded his head. I know Masaki, he said with a smile. What are you talking about? Ichigo asked looking at them. Just come in here and sit down. Masaki said with a smile as she looked at her three daughters. All right, Ichigo said walking into the kitchen and over to a chair. Okay explain, she said sitting down. All right I go first. Naruto said making Ichigo and her sister look at him. It's hard to explain, Naruto says standing up while pulling a pill out of his mouth making his school uniform disappear and replaced with his soul outfit as well as his zanpakuto on his left hip. But to start you could say that I'm not a human being but a soul or the term that is used by some Shinigami. Naruto said as the three girls went wide-eyed at what he said making Ichigo speak up. That can't be true we've been friends since we were kids. Ichigo said looking at Naruto. True, he said looking at her. But you see I have a technique that can let me change how I look. Naruto said looking at her. And besides it wouldn't matter since everyone in this house is the same. Naruto said looking over at Isshin, Masaki and his sister. What do you mean by the same? Asked a shocked Yuzu. Watch. Naruto said putting on a glove on both hands and then slammed them into Isshin and Ichigo pulling out both of their soul forms shocking Yuzu and Karen at what they saw. Damn it Naruto give me a warning the next time you do that. Isshin said standing up showing that he was in his Shinigami garb with his Zanpakuto on his hip and a captain's haori on his right shoulder that said Captain of Squad 10. While Ichigo was the same but her Zanpakuto was on her back but unlike her father's her Zanpakuto was almost as tall as her. Now don't forget me, Masaki said pulling out a pill from her mouth just like Naruto and the other Shita was in her Shinigami garb. How can this be if mom and dad are spirits how we see them? A still shocked Yuzu says. Because Yuzu you were born as a soul without a physical body. The same goes for Karen and you to Ichigo. Naruto says looking at them. And to answer your unasked question as to why people can see you is that when you were born you were placed in a special gigai that would let you grow at the rate of a human and cloak your reiatsu from Seraite. Naruto said looking at them. How do you know all this Naruto? Isshin asked. Masaki told me both time when she was pregnant. Each gigai was made by Kazuki Urahara and reinforced with Reiatsu blocking seal made by me as well as seal to completely stop you from using Reiatsu at all while still letting you see spirits and hollows. Naruto said with smile. But due to the hollow attack last on your family Isshin, your daughter Ichigo is now a Shinigami whether you like it or not. Naruto said looking at him. Now as for your younger daughters, I have removed the seal last night after healing them. Within a week you'll be feeling their Reiatsu. I did the same to Ichigo when she turned 11. Naruto said looking over at Ichigo. It was your mother's orders that I did what I did, Ichi-chan. That's why I created the age reversal technique so I could befriend when you turned 5. It was to also look over you so the seal wouldn't break and alert Seraite about you and then to help protect you after your mother's death was faked. Naruto said only to be slammed up against the wall, Ichigo making his eyes go wide. So fast, but how she doesn't even know Shunpo yet. Naruto thought. Protect me after my mother death was faked. What are talking about? Naruto, answer me now. Ichigo growled as she glared at Naruto. Ichigo, even if I told you I don't, you would understand any of it. Naruto said looking away from her. Not understand? Oh, I understand. All right, you kept my mother away from me. Ichigo shouted. You think I wanted that, Ichigo? Naruto said looking back at her before disappearing and reappearing right behind. You think I wanted to keep her away from her family, away from her daughters, Ichigo? Then I don't know jack shit about anything. Naruto yelled, slamming Ichigo up against the wall. It hurt me more than it hurt you, Ichigo. All she ever dreamed about was having a family of her own. That was a dream of a little 10-year-old girl who had nothing, Ichigo. She had no brothers or sisters to take care of her, no mother or father, nothing, just a sword. That's the only friend she had until I came along and caught her trying to steal from me. Naruto said as tears started rolling down his cheeks, shocking the Kurasaki family and his sister, but Masaki was the one that was the most. See Naruto cry since in all the time she's known him he's never cried. Naruto, that's enough, put her down. Masaki says, putting a hand on his shoulder. Please Naruto, put her down. She said again, making Naruto loosen his grip on Ichigo and drop her. I'm sorry Ichigo, I shouldn't have lashed out at you like that. Naruto said before popping his Gigai pill back into his mouth. Hiraishin. Naruto said, disappearing in a yellow flash. Ichigo. Masaki said, slapping the back of her daughter's head. I want you to apologize to him the next time you see him. Do I make myself clear, young lady? Masaki growled. Why yes mother. Ichigo said with fear. Good, now get your ass back into your Gigai and get to school. She said. Mom, I have no clue how to use it. Ichigo said looking over at the body that looked like her. Right, sorry. Just place your hand on it and from there you'll be sucked back into it. Masaki said as she popped her Gigai pill back into her mouth as her daughter's soul form was sucked back into the Gigai and ran off for school as Naruko shook her head and followed after the girl. All right now Yuzu. Karen, you two will be staying home so your father and me can explain everything to you. We'll tell Ichigo when she gets home. Masaki told her two younger daughters. With Naruto at school, when Naruto flashed from Ichigo's house, he flashed right to school right behind a few trees. Stupid woman, Naruto says, walking out from behind the tree into the doors of the school. That woman goes through so many mood swings it make the midget look like harmless kitten. Naruto mutters walking through the entrance of the school. Naruto. A voice shouted out as running could be heard. Idiot. Naruto said, sticking his foot out behind him as only to feel someone grunt in pain. Hey Keigo. Naruto said, turning around and looked at the down boy moaning in pain. Said boy moaning in pain was Keigo Asano, a boy with medium long brown hair that flips outward. He has brown eyes. Morning Naruto. Another voice said next to him. Morning Mizuhiro. Naruto said to the boy. Mizuhiro was a boy with short black hair and green just like Naruto. He was also 16. Hey, didn't you see what he just did? Keigo said to Mizuhiro, who didn't even pay attention to him. So what wrong with you today? Mizuhiro asked. Why don't you ask the ungrateful Ichi? Naruto snapped, shocking him and almost everyone that was there at what he called Ichigo. Wow Naruto, no need to snap at me. Mizuhiro said with his hand in front of him. Sorry Mizuhiro, I'm just in a bad mood. Naruto said, walking to the classroom. When he stepped inside he noticed that Chad, Tatsuki, and Orihime already there. Chad Yasutora, a friend of his from Mashiba Junior High. Chad is 6 feet 5 and a half. With wavy brown hair that covers his eyes, he is dark skin represented from his Mexican descent due to his muscles and height. People think he is older than he looks. He is also very quiet and doesn't speak much. The next was Tatsuki Arasawa, a childhood friend. Tatsuki is tomboyish girl with a height of 5 feet 1 inch. She has black hair that's spiked out in some places and brown eyes. The last was Orihime Inoue, another childhood friend. Orihime was a beautiful girl who was about an inch taller than Tatsuki and a rack about the same as his sister. She has brown eyes and waist-length burnt orange hair. She also is a very weird personality that Naruto gets a kick out of. Naruto-kun, Orihime said, waving over to Naruto. Hey Hime-chan, Naruto said, walking over to the group. What's with you, Naruto? You seem a little pissed off today. Tatsuki asked as Naruto sat down. Don't worry about it, Tatsuki, Naruto said, laying his head down as the door opened up again, showing Ichigo. Kurasaki-chan, Orihime said with a bright smile, which she just ignored and walked over to Naruto. Can I talk to you, Naruto? Ichigo asked, looking down at Naruto, whom had just barely lifted his head up to answer. Just say it here, Ichi-chan, Naruto said with a lazy tone. Fine. I'm sorry for ing at you earlier. I had no right to without hearing why you did it, Ichigo said with a sad look. You know you didn't have to apologize, Ichi-chan, Naruto said. My mom's making me, Ichigo says, shocking his friend since she never talks about her mother. Your mom's making you, really? Naruto says, lifting his head up all the way. Yes, now drop it, Ichigo told him. Fine, he said before laying his head down as the teacher came in. All right class, we have 2 new students joining us today, the teacher said. Their teacher was a young woman with long brown hair and brown eyes and glasses by the name of Misato Ochi. Okay, you 2 can come in, she says as the doors opened to show the 2 kids that Naruto already knew. All right, you 2 please introduce yourselves, she said. My name is Rukia Kuchiki, the black-haired girl said in a tone that only Naruto caught. She needs to get that stick removed, Naruto thought, looking at Rukia before looking over to his sister. My name is Naruko Uzumaki Namikaze, Naruko said, introducing herself to the class, making them look at her and then to Naruto, who raised an eyebrow. What? Naruto asked, looking at the class. What do you what, Naruto? She has your last name, the class said. She's my younger sister, so of course she would have my last name, Naruto said before the teacher spoke up. All right, ask questions later, she said. Naruko, you can sit over next to Tatsuki, and Rukia, you can take a seat by Ichigo, she said, pointing to the 2 girls. While Naruko went and sat next to Tatsuki, Rukia walked over to Ichigo with a fake smile. You must be Ichigo, right? Rukia said in a fake tone. What are you doing here? Ichigo growled while Rukia had her hand out. Ichigo, you know her? Tatsuki asked, looking at the new girl. Ichigo met her yesterday when I went to go and get my sister from the airport. She one of Naruko friends from America, which is funny since she looks Japanese and can speak it really good, Naruto said, saving Ichigo from her mistake. Yeah, but we were never introduced, Rukia said, playing along with what Naruto said. After class. All right, Rukia, Ichigo roof now, Naruto said before walking out of the classroom with his sister hot on his heels. Roof. All right, Rukia, due to you not having your Shinigami powers anymore, Ichigo will be doing them for you with me helping out here and there, Naruto said, looking at her. What? Why should I help her? Ichigo shouted. Ichigo, this is your life now. Kill hollows like the one last night, as well as saving souls for turning into hollow or being eaten by them, Naruto said, glaring at the girl. Beside, your father used to do this, the same goes for your mother, it's in the family, Naruto said. But why? I mean, I know from what little you told me this morning as well as what little Rukia told me last night, but why? Ichigo asked him. Because I said so. You're the only one that can, since Saraite doesn't know about me, and Naruko can't since this is not her mission, so that only leaves you, Ichi-chan, Naruto said with a smile before a phone went off. There's a hollow in the park, Rukia said, looking at the phone. Well, you heard her, Ichi-chan, time to go to work, Naruto said, taking the Gigai pill out of his mouth while Naruko did the same thing while Rukia slammed her hand into Ichigo to release his soul form. Just one thing, Naruto says, putting a hand on Ichigo's Gigai and started to coat it with Reiatsu, making it vanish for sight. What the hell happened to my body? Ichigo asked, looking at the spot her body used to be. Don't worry Ichigo, it's still there, I just used a little reiatsu to make it invisible so people wouldn't find it. Naruto said, turning around to look at her. Now let's go before that hollow get away. Naruto said, picking up Ichigo and jumping off the roof while Naruko did the same thing with Rukia. Once the four got to the park, Naruto noticed that Ichigo was looking around for someone. What's wrong Ichi-chan? Naruto asked. Well, you see there's this ghost that usually plays here. Ichigo explained. He's about 5 years old, and about this height. She said, moving her hand to put it where the kid's head should reach. He's always around here, so it's weird he's not playing in this park. She said truthfully. A friend of yours? Rukia asked. No, I've just seen him a few times, I haven't even talked to him. He then noticed Rukia pulling out a cell phone and began to play with it. He seems nearby. You know, I never did ask about the phone that you're using. I noticed it on the roof of the school when it went off. Asked the curious Strawberry. Well, you see, this device allows me to locate souls and also receive my orders, the girl replied as she looked behind them. And it seems that the hollow is after the kid. UUUWWWWAAAAAAHHHH. Everyone turned to the terrified screaming of a 5-year-old boy with a chain hanging from his chest, being followed by a large spider-like hollow. Ichigo and Naruto instantly grabbed their swords and put a foot in the fence separating them from the kid in danger, but just when they began to draw their Zanpakuto. Stop. Both turned to see Rukia with a solemn look. Why do you even want to help that kid? She asked, before turning to the orange-haired girl. You don't even know him. Rukia said, not understanding why they would help him. What are you talking about? Rukia, it a Shinigami job to help pluses, and I for one won't let a hollow devour a kid on my watch. Naruto barked in anger as he drew his Zanpakuto completely. He's right, I just can't let that poor kid die. Ichigo shouted in agreement. Naruto, you should know this too, since you're a Shinigami. The Ravenet said solemnly. We as Shinigami must treat all souls as equals, not matter what. Even if that kid's in front of you and is suffering, or even if he were at 1,000 miles away, won't change the fact you both are Shinigami. You can't save every spirit. Naruto growled. I am not a Shinigami like you, Rukia. I don't work for Seraite. I have now ties to that place like you and Naruko. Naruto barked. I protect all souls from hollow attacks. Naruto said as Naruko smiled. It was how her parents wanted Seraite to work, to protect souls at any cost. What's the point? Rukia barked back. It doesn't matter if you save the kid, only if you have such a false kindness. If you too want to save him, then you must save all the spirits. That means to go anywhere for them and give your lives for them. Except that. Give life, Ichigo echoed, before growling. Wah! The kid cried as the hollow was about to bite him. Get away from him, Naruto shouted as he slammed his foot into the monster's face, knocking it back a few feet while leaving imprints the hollow's mask. He then snapped and pointed at Rukia. It doest matter, I've been doing this for 100 years, Rukia, and not once has a soul be lost to a hollow. Who are you? Asked the hollow as it approached the blonde. However, the moment it did so, one of its legs was sliced clean off with enough raw strength to send it flying back a few yards. Rukia was shocked as she saw Ichigo wipe her oversized Zanpakuto clean of the hollow's blood. Ichigo, you too. Shut your damn trap. Both Ichigo and Naruto shouted in unison, the first continuing, I won't accept it. What? The shocked Ravenet asked. Rukia, you were chosen to be a Shinigami to help people, but as for me and Ichigo, we're different. The redhead continued, you did the same last night, you sacrificed yourself for Ichigo. Did you think it was your Shinigami duty to have him? Both Ichigo and Naruto turned at the same time and sliced the hollow's head in 4 pieces, Ichigo cutting it vertically and Naruto horizontally in perfect halves. Naruto turned to Rukia with a determined face. I hate it when people suffer and when others make people suffer. My job is to make sure that souls don't suffer after dying. The blonde shouted. Ichigo continued, I don't accept any duty, or whatever. If things get ugly, I may run since I'm not so much of a good person to sacrifice myself for everyone, but, then she turned to the Ravenet with a face as determined as her friend. Sadly, I'm not as heartless as to live peacefully without paying my debts. She then walked to Rukia and extended her hand to the shorter girl, I'm going to help you. I'll do that Shinigami job. Even if I don't want to. Ichigo said. Rukia smiled at both of them. Yeah, thanks. Naruko smiled looking at the three before walking over to the kid. Now that that's said and done, hey, kid. Naruko said kneeling down in front of the kid. What is it? The boy asked teary-eyed. Naruko smiled warmly and comfortingly at the boy. Calm down, I'm sending you to a better place. Where? The kid asked a bit shocked. The blonde ruffled his hair and smiled more. To a place for you to rest your soul and where you won't suffer anymore. With those words, and placing the end of her sword's handle on the kid's forehead, the kid was gone as a black butterfly took his place and flew away. After all that was said and done, they went back to school, which wasn't much beside the fact that the teachers asked where they were, in which Naruto said that they went to his house for lunch, and knowing that the blonde's house was far, they let it go with a warning. Once school got out, Naruto and Naruko left for home while Ichigo did the same, but not before offering Rukia a place to stay. Namikaze compound. Well, that was an eventful day. Naruto said walking through the door of the compound as he took out his Gigai pill while Naruko just left hers. I guess. Naruko said, shrugging her shoulders as she walked in behind Naruto. Spoil sport. Naruto said, walking into the living room and noticed that everyone was there. Hey guys, what's up? Naruto asked, walking over to any spot on the couch. Not much, Kensai said before taking a serious face. But you could tell us what happened last night at Kurasaki-san clinic. Kensai said with a serious voice. Not much, just a Shinigami transferring her powers over to Ichigo so she could save her family from the hollow that attacked. Naruto said with a calm voice. This had to happen, Kensai, and you know it. In order to get them to show their faces to Seraite, this had to happen. Naruto said with his eye not leaving Kensai as he sighed in defeat. Don't worry man, everything will be fine. Naruto said, a smile. After Naruto explained everything to the other Vizorids, they went off to do whatever while Naruto and Naruko stayed in the living room and sat there in silence, not knowing what to say until Naruto spoke up. Hey Naruto. Naruko said, looking over at her brother who was lying on the couch. What is it, Naruko? Naruto said lazily. I was just wondering, do you know the name of your Zanpakuto? Naruko asked, getting a curious look from her brother. Yes, I learned her name when I was only 8 years old, and when I was 11 I learned Bankai. Naruto said, making his jump up and shout at him. You already know Bankai. Naruko shouted. What's the big deal about it? Naruto asked, looking at her with a lazy look. Naruto, obtaining Bankai is very big, only a few can obtain it. Naruko said, knowing just how hard it was to get since she herself was trying to get. I don't even have it. Naruko said as his brother turned his head to look up at the ceiling. Naruko, being able to obtain Shikai or Bankai is not important. The bond between you and your Zanpakuto, you must become one with your Zanpakuto to be strong. Naruto said, looking back over at his sister. Beside Naruko, I never even use them. Naruto said, closing his eyes. But Naruto, what happens if you face an even stronger hollow? Naruko asked, looking at her brother who wasn't even looking at her. Never had to. Naruto said, sitting up. I only ever had to face a Jillian class hollow. Naruto said to her. Now then, let's go and get something to eat, I'm hungry. Naruto said as he stood up and walked over to Naruko. Come on. Naruto said, pulling his sister up before walking out of the living room into the kitchen to get something to eat. I guess I could get something too. Naruko said as her stomach started to growl in agreement to food, making her blush. Seems like your stomach agrees with you, Naruko. Naruto said with a chuckle. Hey, don't blame me, I haven't had anything since lunch. Naruko said with a huff, making her. Well, there, chapter 3. I thought it would be nice for Ichigo to know what her parents, since they will be playing a big part in the future. Now I know you're wondering why no flashback of Masaki as a child when she met Naruto. The main reason is because the flashback for that will be when the group gets to Seraite. I'll be skipping a few things and go right to the day Rukia is taken back to Seraite. The reason why is Naruto has nothing to do with those bottles, but all bottles after that he'll be in, since he's trying to keep Seraite from knowing that he's there. Sometime next week I should have chapter 4 up, just another 2,000 words and it done. Now there is a new poll up that will last until Aizen betrays Soul Society, and for those who love Yoruichi, she's in this poll it on my profile. It's been a whole month since Rukia and his sister Naruko came to Karakura town, and in that month Rukia transferred her powers to Ichigo so she could save her family. Ichigo and her sisters found out that their mother was still alive and her death was faked, while also finding out that they were all born as souls. Ichigo had dealt with a hollow that was after her friend Orihime, who turned out to be her brother. An hollow that causing trouble for a spirit-possessed bird and a Quincy that hated all Shinigami because they destroyed the Quincy clans. It was around the last week of the month that both Ichigo and Naruto noticed that Rukia was distancing herself from them as well as being unfocused, and she seemed to be depressed. It was then that Naruto noticed his sister acting strange. He may have only known her for a month, but he could tell that the way she was acting wasn't normal. She was always looking over her shoulder for some reason. Naruto had figured that it was because Saraite would be coming to get them soon since they haven't returned. But one thing was sure, they would not lay a hand on his sister. At Ichigo's house, Ichigo had just returned from help Chad's house. He had gotten badly hurt protect her little sister from the hollow attack that was caused by a classmate of theirs, Ryu Ishida, one of the last Quincy's, so she was helping him out until Gentle Giant was healed. She didn't bother saying hi to anyone since they were at Urahara's trying to get Yuzu and Karen to unlock their Zanpakutos. So she made her way to her room and was surprised that Rukia wasn't there, but she did notice a note on her desk with a drawing of Chappie the Rabbit in the corner with the word hint next to it. It took a few minutes, but she figured out that the message had way too many R's in it. Once he had removed the R's that didn't fit with the note, it read, Ichigo, it appears as if I can no longer stay here in the world of the living. Circumstances have risen to the point that I will be taken away back to Saraite. Please, don't come for me, I've already accepted my fate. Your friend, Rukia. He dropped the note in shock. Rukia, the Shinigami that helped her save her family from the hollow that attacked them, the one who taught her what she knows about Shinigami. She was so shocked that she ran out of the house into Urahara so she could get out of her Gigai. Please don't let me be late, she thought, running out of the house and down the road. With Naruto. Naruto had received the same kind of letter that Ichigo had gotten from Rukia, which is why he was currently running on the rooftops running after his sister, knowing full well that she would be charged for helping Rukia stay in the world of the living and not taking her back and killing Ichigo after what she did. Damn it, Naruko, I told you to stay in the house, it's the only place that they wouldn't find you. Naruto growled as ran after his sister Reiatsu signal. Naruto, calm down, a voice says from within his head. No, Naru-chan, I won't. Naruto said, increasing his speed even more. They won't take my sister, I won't let them. Naruto growled as he caught sight of Ichigo in her soul form. Ichi-chan. Naruto shouted, jumping down from the roof. Naruto, what are doing here? Ichigo asked. Look at him as he came running up to her. Naruko left me a note, say she was going back Saraite. Naruto said as they both started running after the girls. And my guess is that Rukia did the same to you. Naruto said, getting a nod from her. With Rukia and Naruko. Both Rukia and Naruko were running in the rain, trying to get away from the main part of town so they could head to the park. They had just turned the corner to enter the park when they saw it, the doors of a Senkaimon opening. What shocked Rukia the most was who was on the other side, while Naruko just closed her eyes since only Rukia knew them the most, while she only he the one of them since she was his third seat. One was a man with red hair tied in an upward ponytail, tattoo markings over his eyebrows, a white cloth headband, and a lieutenant's badge tied around his left bicep. He was Renji Aburai, the lieutenant of Squad 6. The other was a man with black hair that had a white headpiece in it, a white scarf around his neck, and a white cloak with the symbol for Squad 6 over his shihakusho. He was Byakuya Kuchiki, the captain of Squad 6. Well, look at this. We already found you, too, Renji said. Both of them were ready to accept their capture before two high-level Reiatsu sources were felt. Both automatically knew who they were, and while Rukia couldn't help but smile sadly while thinking. Idiots, I knew they'd come, but I wished that they didn't. But, I guess friends really can't stand to see another friend in trouble. Naruko on the other hand was worried not for her brother and her orange-haired friend Ichigo. She was worried about the two who came to take them back to Saraite. She was afraid that Naruto would kill them for trying to take her away. Naruto, please just go home and forget about me, she thought, looking in the direction of the source. When Byakuya and Renji felt the Reiatsu sources, they were surprised by how strong they were. One was a third seat but was slowly increasing the closer it got, while the other was that of several lieutenants combined, and it was also increasing as it got closer. Renji. Came the monotone voice of Byakuya. Get ready. Yes, sir. Once Renji replied, the sources that were admitting the Reiatsu landed in front of them both were pissed off, but they were pissed off at different things. Ichigo because these two people were trying to take his friends, while Naruto was glaring at his sister. Evening. Captain Kuchiki, Lieutenant Abarai. Naruto said in a calm voice, shocking them that the blonde knew who they were. I must ask, how do you know our names? Byakuya asked with a motionless voice. That is none for your business. Naruto said with a flat tone. Now hand the girls over. Naruto said. Byakuya replied, I'm afraid that we cannot do that. They are charged with treason. Rukia for giving her powers to a human and Naruko as her accomplice, so they must be punished for their crimes. Naruto lowered his head and his bangs shadowed his eyes. I see, then please forgive me for what I'm about to do. Naruto said, pulling out Kekkei Genkai. For if you won't hand them over nicely, I'll take them by force. Naruto says, putting his Zanpakuto in front of him as it glows. Now then release the limits of the blood. Kekkei Genkai. Naruto says in a whisper, making his Zanpakuto disappear from sight. Be proud that you get to see my Shikai. Naruto says as he stood in front of them with a different look. His hair turned red while the whisker marks vanished and his eyes turned a light purple with 3 rings in them while his Reiatsu skyrocketed to the of 2 captain combined. Ichigo, you take the redhead, I'll take the captain. Naruto said to the girl as Byakuya merely raised an eyebrow at that. He then saw Naruto disappear using one of Kekkei Genkai's special abilities, and within seconds Naruto was in front of Byakuya and then both were gone. While Renji looked around for the two, Ichigo used this moment to start her battle with Renji. Naruto vs. Byakuya. The two appeared about half a mile into the park and jumped away from each other. Byakuya was impressed with the blonde's skill. Not many people were able to pull one over on him, but this boy was able to easily. You know my name, but I don't know yours. Byakuya said to the blonde. My name is Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze. He said, getting a shocked look from Byakuya. So you were related to Naruko then? Byakuya asked, getting a nod from Naruto. Yes, she is my sister. Naruto said as Byakuya gave an understanding nod. I see, so that is why you wish to save her. Byakuya said. I, Byakuya Kuchiki, captain of Squad 6, will stop you then. Byakuya said. Naruto shook his head at what was said and formed a sword out of thin air made of crystal and then charged at Byakuya. Byakuya pulled out his sword and was parrying Naruto's strikes with some difficulty. But Naruto then charged at him in a yellow flash, but the Kuchiki head was able to dodge with a well-timed shunpo. Very good, Captain Kuchiki. Not many are fast enough to dodge an attack when use a Kaminari shunpo. Naruto stated with a smile. Kaminari shunpo? Byakuya asked, a little interested in the technique that the blonde used. Yes, a technique of my own design. Naruto said. I see. Byakuya said with a nod before charging at him again while they were exchanging blows when felt Ichigo's Reiatsu fall drastically. It seems that we are going to have to cut this short, Kuchiki. Naruto said as vanishing in a flash. With Ichigo. The fight is the same as the canon. When Naruto appeared, Ichigo was lying on the ground in a pool of blood but was still alive barely. Naruto knew only one way to save her, and that was to get her to Urahara's, but first he had to get his sister. Renji noticed him and swung his Zanpakuto at him only to miss as Naruto flashed over to Naruko and grabbed her by the wrist before flashing over to the side of Ichigo. You might have beat her today, Abarai, but the next time you won't get so lucky. Naruto said, flashing away from the scene with his sister and a bloodily Ichigo. Captain, what do we do? Renji asked as he noticed his captain appear in front of him. We head home, there is nothing we can do. Byakuya said as he opened the Senkaimon and walked through with Rukia and Renji following after him. Urahara's shop. When Naruto appeared in Urahara's shop, he appeared in front of Ichigo's family who were wearing their Shinigami garb. They were all sitting around a table talking when Naruto appeared, shocking them. Urahara, get Ichigo to a room, she badly hurt. Naruto said, looking at Urahara and then to the bloodily Ichigo. Right. Tessai, pick her and take her to a room. Kazuki said, looking at the big man. Tessai Tsukubishi is a tall, muscular, lightly tan-skinned man. His hair is cornrowed and he has a large handlebar mustache, which is connected to his long sideburns. He wears a pair of rectangular-shaped glasses. His attire consists of a white muscle shirt with regular pants and a blue apron. Naruto, what happened to my daughter? Masaki asked as Ishin followed Tessai out of the room to help heal his daughter. She went up against a lieutenant of the Gote 13 trying to get Rukia back. Naruto said, pushing his sister down on her knees. While she was faced the lieutenant I was going up against the captain. Not too long into the fight I noticed Ichigo's Reiatsu dropping, so I ended the battle and went to Ichigo only to find that she was laying in pool of her own blood. Naruto said, I was only able to get Naruko and Ichigo out of there before the captain came back. Naruto said, glaring at his sister who was currently looking at the ground. Now if I know Ichigo, she'll go to Seraite to save her friend from death. Naruto said before letting a loud sigh. But that right there lays the problem. Naruto said, looking over at Masaki. Ichigo's Shinigami power is not her own. Naruto said as Karen spoke up. What do you mean not her own? Karen asked. Karen, the bulk of the Reiatsu she has right now belongs to Rukia. Naruto said as Masaki formed a frown on her face, knowing what he was going to do. In order to get her to use her own powers we need to take Rukia's power away, but in order to do that we need to sever her soul chain without killing her. Naruto said as Ishin came into the room. Well, I have good news and bad news, everyone. Ishin said with frown. Bad news first, Ishin. Naruto says, looking over his shoulder. Alright, the bad news is that Ichigo is no longer a Shinigami, she just a regular soul. Ishin said, clenching his fists. Somehow the lieutenant's blade severed her soul chain. Ishin said. And the good news? Naruto says as he stood up and turned to look Ishin in the eye. The good news is that Ichigo will make it. Was your quick thinking that saved her, Naruto? Ishin said with a smile. Well then Kazuki, you know what to do. Naruto said, looking over at Kazuki. Right, the shattered shaft training. Kazuki said, hiding behind his mask as Yuzu spoke up. Urahara-san, what's the shattered shaft? Yuzu asked with curiosity as Karen wondered the same thing. The shatter shaft is a trial that allows a human soul to gain the powers of a Shinigami if they are lucky, that is. Kazuki said, causing Karen ask the next part. What happens if the person fails to become a Shinigami? Karen asked, knowing everything has a price as her father spoke up. If that happens, Karen, then we would have to kill the person before he or she becomes a hollow. Ishin said in a monotone voice, shocking his daughters at the thought of losing their older sister. Don't worry, you two, your sister is far stronger than you think. Naruto said with a small smile. Now then, once she up and you have explained everything to her, call me. Naruto said, walking over to Naruko. Where are you going, Naruto? Masaki asked, wondering why he was leaving. Home, so Naruko and me can talk about the stupid action she took early today. Naruto said, placing a hand on his sister's shoulder, and used Hiraishin to get them back to the house. Well then, I guess we should head home and get some sleep. Ishin said to his family before turning to Kazuki. Call us when she wakes up. Ishin said, getting a nod from Kazuki. Of course, he says, smiling behind his fan as the rest of the Kurasaki family got up and left. Naruto's room. When they appeared in his room, Naruko was the first to start talking. Well, that went better than I thought. Want to do think? Naruko asked her brother, who was smirking at what happened early. It went just as planned, but I'm still shocked that you want to help. Naruto said as he looked at his sister with a smile, who just shook her head. You're my brother, Naruto, so I follow you until the end of time. Naruko said, sitting down on the bed. I just hope that your plan works. Naruko said as Naruto fell onto the bed backwards. Don't worry, it will. Naruto said, closing his eyes as Naruko did the same but laid her head on her brother's chest before closing her eyes. I hope so, Naruko said as sleep laid it clamped to her just like her brother. The following morning at Urahara's. When Ichigo had woke up, she was assaulted by the memory of what happened last night. She tried getting up only for someone to tell her not to move. Looking up she to where the voice came from, she noticed Urahara and Tessai standing in the doorway. Don't move too much, Ichigo, you're still hurt and haven't fully healed yet. Urahara said as Tessai walked into the room with a cup of tea. Why am I here? What happened to Rukia and Naruko? Ichigo asked, sitting up, not even caring about the pain. You're in a spare room in my shop. Naruto brought you here after you wounded from your fight against the lieutenant last night. Urahara said, snapping his fan shut. And as for the other two, well, Miss Namikaze is safe and sound at the Namikaze compound while Miss Kuchiki was taken back to Seraite. Urahara said. We have to save her. Ichigo shouted, trying to stand up only to fall down. You can't do anything without your Shinigami power, Miss Kurasaki. He said before turning around. Now rest while I go and tell your family that you're awake. He said before walking away. The Naruto and Naruko. Naruto was always the first to wake up while his sister would wake up 2 minutes after with messy hair and a cute face, but this time when he woke up he noticed that his sister was sleeping with her head on his chest and her arm wrapped around him, in which it had brought a smile to his face. Hey, come on Naru-chan, time to get up. Naruto said, brushing a strand of hair out of her face. Let me reap, let me sleep. Naruko said, trying to bury her head into her brother's chest. Come Naruko, we have things to do. Naruto said, shaking his sister. But I want to sleep, your chest is so warm. Naruko said, rubbing her head on his chest. Fine, have it your way. Naruto said as he reached his hand around her body until he felt his sister's and gave it a squeeze, making Naruko jump out of bed with a yelp as she covered her ass with her arms. You pervert, feeling up your own sister. Naruko shouted while trying to fight back a blush that was coming. Not my fault you didn't get up when I told you, now get your cloths and take a shower. Naruto said, getting up out of bed. When you're done, come downstairs. Naruto said as he made his way to the door, looked back at his sister with a smile before opening the door and walking out. In the kitchen. As Naruto walked down the stairs and into the kitchen, he noticed everyone was staring at him for some reason. Is there a reason why you are all staring at me? Naruto asked. Has the piece been played? Shinji asked, speaking in code. Yes, the first piece has been played. Naruto said, walking over to the table and sitting down. Now we wait for Ichigo to play her piece, and once she as the game is on. Naruto said, getting a nod from everyone at the table. But you do realize when they show themselves and leave Seraite, my mother and father will come down from the palace demanding to know what's been happening. Naruto said, looking around the table. We know Naruto, and as much as we don't want to deal with Seraite. Kensai said, letting out a loud sigh before continuing. But we want to get back at Aizen for what he did to us. Kensai said as everyone nodding. Kensai's right about getting back at Aizen. Lisa said, looking up from her book. And it would be nice not always looking over our shoulders for any Shinigami that might remember us. Lisa said, looking over at Naruto. I'll always follow you, Naruto-kun. Mashiro said joyfully with a smile. We already know you would, since you follow him around like a lovesick puppy. Hiyori said, glaring at her. I do not. Mashiro shouted with a blush. Yes you do, Mashiro-san. Rose said, looking over at her. Well Mashiro-san, I have to agree with Hiyori-san and Rose-san. Hachi said, making Mashiro go wide-eyed. Hachi, not you too. Mashiro says with wide eyes at what Hachi just said. Naruto, what's for breakfast? He heard his sister call out to him as she walked down the stairs and into the kitchen. She was wearing a blood-red kimono with the earring in the shape of the Uzumaki family crest. Well, on today's menu are pancakes. With eggs over easy and a side of maple bacon. Love said, making Naruko flash to her chair with drool coming out of her mouth. Naruko, you're drooling again. Naruto said, snapping his fingers in front of her face, making her snap out of her daze. Sorry. Naruko said, wiping the drool away before she stacked her plate full of food and started eating as the doorbell was heard. I'll get it, Naruto said, getting up out of his chair. Why can't people just wait until noon to start bugging you? Naruto said, making his over to the door. Yes, can I help? Naruto said, opening it only to see Tessai standing on the other side. Good morning Naruto-sama, Tessai said with a bow. Forgive me for not calling ahead to tell you that I was coming, but Urahara-san wishes for you and Naruko-sama to come over to the shop. Tessai said as Naruto sighed and nodded his head. All right, Naruto said before turning around to yell to his sister. Naruko. Naruto shouted. What? She shouted back. Take a few strips of bacon for the road, Kazuki needs us. Naruto shouted, getting a muffled okay out of his sister. Now why does he need us? Naruto asked as his sister came out of the kitchen with a piece of bacon in her mouth and a couple on a paper plate and walked up to him as Tessai explained what was going on. Flashback. Ichi-ne, you're all right. A voice said, making Ichigo look towards the door to her. Your little sisters Yuzu and Karen with their mom and dad right behind them. Yuzu. Ichigo said as said girl ran over and hugged her, making her wince a little for the pain. So how are you feeling, Ichigo? Her mother asked. I feel fine, Ichigo said, looking over at her mother. But is what Urahara told me true, that my Shinigami powers are gone? Ichigo asked as her father spoke up. I'm afraid so, Ichigo, your soul chain was severed. We had managed to fix it, but your Shinigami powers are gone. Isshin said, making Ichigo drop her head. But what about Rukia? We have to save her. Ichigo says, lifting her head up. Well, luckily there's a way to get your powers back. Urahara said from behind his fan. How? Ichigo asked. It's special training that will allow Soul to become Shinigamis. Urahara said, snapping his fan shut. But that there is the problem, you weren't born with physical body, so you won't have a chain of fate, which is needed for you to be able to do the training. Kazuki says as a dark aura appeared around Ichigo. Then why did you even say anything? Ichigo shouted. Just to get your hopes up. Urahara says before doing the one thing he promised he wouldn't do, tell them who Naruto really was. But there is a way to get them back, but only those of the Spirit King's family can do it. Kazuki said. What do you mean? Isshin asked, wondering what Kazuki was taking about. It's hard to explain and hard to believe even when the king to me himself. Kazuki said, closing his eyes and taking a deep breath before continuing. You see, the king and his offspring have the ability to grant Shinigami powers to those they trust and love. Kazuki said. So then all we have to do is ask this Spirit King for help. Yuzu said. No, the Spirit King lives in another dimension opposite of Seraite. Kazuki said as Ichigo started glaring at him again. But his son and daughter are right here in this very town. Kazuki said, making the Kurasaki family look at him, wondering how he would know. The only one that didn't was Masaki, as she knew he was talking about Naruto and his younger sister. But the thing is getting Prince Naruto and Princess Naruko to actually do it. Kazuki said, looking over at Tessai as the Kurasakis went wide-eyed at what Kazuki just said. Tessai, if you would be so kind as to and get them. Kazuki says, looking at Tessai with a smile. Of course, Urahara-san. Tessai says with a bow before walking out of the room. Naruto and Naruko are the king's children. Isshin said with a shocked look. Yes, they are. Now make yourselves at home, it will take Tessai a little while to get them. Kazuki said, sitting down. Flashback end. And that's why I'm here. Tessai said as Naruto was growing red with anger. Damn him. Naruto growled, placing a hand on Naruko and Tessai. Hiraishin. He shouted as they felt the house in a yellow flash and appeared right in front of everyone in Urahara's shop. Urahara's. Kazuki. Naruto shouted as the three of them appeared in front of the Kazuki and the Kurasaki. Ah, Prince Naruto. Princess Naruko, thanks for coming. Kazuki said, only to find a hand around his throat. Why did you tell them? Naruto shouted, gripping Kazuki's throat. I'm sorry, but only you and your sister can restore Ichigo's power. Kazuki said, feeling Naruto's hand tighten around his throat. I told you to use the shattered shaft. Naruto growled. It came to me last night that Ichigo doesn't have a physical body, so the shatter shaft won't work on her. Kazuki struggled to say with the grip Naruto had on his throat. Can't do it, Naruto said, letting Kazuki go. Can't do it. Don't you know how? Kazuki said, rubbing his throat. No, I know it. It's just that if I do it, she'll gain everything that I can do. Naruto said, knowing if he did it she'd get a hollow mask, but since he and the other could help, he wasn't that worried about the mask. He was afraid that he would lose her, he just couldn't live with her gone. Naruto, it's not your choice. Ichigo said, looking him in the eye. It's mine and I want you to do it. I need to save Rukia. Ichigo shouted as she stood up. Well then, good luck with it, because I'm not helping. Naruto said, only to be slammed up against the wall. Naruto, you will return my powers. Ichigo growled. No. Naruto said, looking away. What? Why the hell not? Ichigo shouted. Because Naruto tried to say as tears rolled down his cheeks. Because what? Because you don't care what happens to Rukia. She shouted. No, because I love you, Ichigo. Naruto said, turning his head back to look her in the eye as he stood there with shock. That's why I won't do it, Ichi-chan, it's because I love you and I'm afraid that I would lose you. Naruto says with tears still rolling down his cheeks. Did he just say he loves me? Ichigo thought. It's about time he confessed his love for Ichi-ne. Yuzu and Karen thought, look at Naruto with a smile on their faces. Come on, sweetheart. Masaki thought, knowing that her daughter had a crush on Naruto from what her daughter asked her a week ago. Flashback 1 week ago. Ichigo had just got home from school and was sitting on her bed in front of her mother with her legs crossed twiddling her fingers. "So what did you want to ask me, sweetheart?" Masaki asked her daughter. "How do you know if you love someone?" Ichigo asked looking at her mother who just had a smile on her face. "Why is there someone that you love?" Masaki said getting a blush from her daughter. "I don't know, I mean when I'm around him I always blush, my heart beats faster, it even feels like I have butterflies in my stomach, and I just can't help but smile every time I'm around him." Ichigo said with a blush. "Well, some of those are signs of having a crush on someone, Ichigo-chan." Masaki said looking her daughter in the eye. "So who the lucky one that stole your heart?" Masaki asked her daughter with a grin on her face as Ichigo muttered something under breath. "What was that, sweetheart, I could hear?" Masaki said. "It's Naruto," Ichigo whispered again making her mother frown. "Ichigo-chan, I still couldn't hear you," Masaki said with a frown. "It's Naruto," Ichigo shouted getting a smile from her mother. Flashback end. "Why you love me?" asked with shock. "Yes, I love you, Ichi-chan, I have since middle school," he said biting his lip. "Then if you truly love me, Naruko-kun, return my powers so you don't have to be afraid of losing me," Ichigo said looking Naruto in the eye. Alright, there's chapter 4, hope you like it. Now the main reason for not using the shattered shaft was explain how can a soul use it if she does not have a chain of fate, so I made it to where Naruto and his family could restore or give someone the abilities of a Shinigami while also getting the knowledge of how to use Kido, and since in the canon Ichigo had a hollow mask I had to make it so she will get it as well. Now then, well, Naruto give in to her request and give her back her Shinigami powers. "Why you love me?" asked with shock. "Yes, I love you, Ichi-chan, I have since middle school," he said biting his lip. "Then if you truly love me, Naruko-kun, return my powers so you don't have to be afraid of losing me," Ichigo said looking Naruto in the eye. Now back to the story. "Why do you want your power back so badly?" Naruto asked. "So I can save Rukia," Ichigo said. "Why would you go so far to save someone you only met a month ago?" Naruto asked, wanting to know her true reason before restoring her powers. "She gave me her powers so I could save my family that night. So I will do whatever it takes to save her," Ichigo said with determination as she let him go. "Very well, request granted," Naruto said making Ichigo look at him confused. "What?" she said. "I said request granted," Naruto said with a smile as he put a hand on Ichigo's shoulder and vanished in a yellow flash. "Where'd they go?" Ishin asked looking at the spot that Naruto and his daughter were once in. "Naruto probably took her to the underground training room," Kazuki said shrugging his shoulders as he got up and motioned for them to follow him out of the room. The underground training room. When Naruto and Ichigo arrived in the room, Naruto could tell that Ichigo was confused to where they were as well as to how they got there in the first place, so the first 10 minutes Naruto was telling her where they were and how they got there. "Alright, Ichi-chan, since you don't have a chain of fate, the only way to get your Shinigami powers back is very simple," Naruto said with a smile as he held up his hand and formed a ball of Reiatsu. "Naruto, what's that?" Ichigo asked looking at the ball of energy that formed in Naruto's hand. "This, Ichi-chan, is called Reiatsu," Naruto said. "Hold it out in front of him. Now then place your hand on it and the restoration of her powers shall begin," Naruto said. "Are you sure it will work?" Ichigo asked carefully putting her hand forward. "Hey, come on, trust me, Ichigo," Naruto said still having his smile. "Beside from a letter my mom left me, she went through the same thing you're going to do," Naruto said. "If you're sure," Ichigo says touching the ball of Reiatsu. The moment she touched the ball it was absorbed into her. "Sorry, Ichi-chan," Naruto said making Ichigo look at him confused until a hole appeared beneath her and was sent falling to the bottom. "Bakudo number 99 restrict," he said slamming his hands together as white fabric shot down at Ichigo and tied her arms behind her back. "Down in the hole. What the Naruto, get me out of here," Ichigo shouted as she stood up and glared at Naruto only for white fabric to bind her hands behind her back. "What the Naruto?" Ichigo shouted again. "If you want out then regain your Shinigami powers, Ichigo, that ball of Reiatsu that was absorbed into you acts like a chain of fate. You have 3 days to get your powers or you will turn into a hollow." She heard Naruto shout to her making her eye go wide at what she heard, not realizing that he was lying to her about turning into a hollow. "When I get out of here I'm going to kill him," Ichigo said to herself. Up with Naruto. This is the only way to get them back. The Reiatsu ball was just a little help, she must do the rest on her own. Naruto said to himself as Kazuki and the others came up behind him. Hey, where's Ichigo? Kazuki said. Just look in the hole. Naruto said, standing up as the other walked over to the hole and looked down to see Ichigo trying to run up the side of the hole. Why is she down there, and why did you use Bakudo number 99 restrict on her? Kazuki asked. Because the way I'm restoring her Shinigami power is similar to the shattered shaft without the effect of us having to kill her. Naruto said. What do you mean similar to the shattered shaft? Kazuki asked. Because the only way to get out is to enter her inner world and get her Zanpakuto, and that could take anywhere from 2 days to a week. Naruto said, walking away from the hole. Not to mention that she'll gain a mask, but for some reason I have a feeling she'll gain the mask first, which in turn will force her into her inner world. Naruto thought to himself. Hey Kazuki. Naruto said, making Kazuki look at him. Yeah, Kazuki said as his hat lifted up a little, showing his right eye. Where's Yoruichi-chan? Naruto asked. Don't know. Kazuki said, shrugging his shoulders. Why do you ask? Kazuki asked, pulling out his fan once again. Needed to talk to her. Naruto said as a male's voice spoke up. What do you want with little old me? A voice asked as a black cat landed on Naruto's shoulder. Speak her name and she shall come. Naruto said with a chuckle as the other looked at him with raised eyebrows besides Kazuki, Tessai, and Masaki. Naruto, that's a cat. Naruko says, looking at the cat on Naruto's shoulder. I think brother's losing his mind. Naruko thought. She's no ordinary cat, Naruko. Naruto told his sister. Isn't that right, Yoruichi-chan? Naruto says, scratching the cat's head. A little lower, Naruto-kun. The cat now knows, Yoruichi said, making everyone besides 3 people go wide-eyed and slack-jawed as the cat spoke. DD did TT that CC cat JJ just SS speak? Yuzu says with a stuttered. Yes, she did. Naruto said, still scratching Yoruichi on the head. B but TT that's I impossible CC cats CC can't SS speak. Karen says with a stutter, just like her sister. I'm not an everyday house cat. Yoruichi said, jumping off Naruto's shoulder. So what did you want to talk about, Naruto-kun? Yoruichi asked, turning around to face Naruto. I want you to come with Ichi-chan and me when we go to Seraite. Naruto said. And why should I? Yoruichi asked. Well, for starters it would be a good chance to see your little bee again. Naruto said with a chuckle. And with you there it should be very easy to get Kukaku to help us. Naruto said, knowing how hard it could be to get her to do anything for anyone, even when it to help a Shinigami. True, Kukaku can be stubborn on some things. Yoruichi said, nodding her head. Especially since she'll have to help a Shinigami this time. Yoruichi says, getting a nod from Naruto. So will you join us? Naruto asked. Of course. Yoruichi says with a grin as Naruto nodded and looked over to Kazuki. Yeah, Kazuki. Naruto shouted, getting said shop owner's attention. Yes. Kazuki answered back. How's Ichi-chan doing? Naruto asked. Well, she got the right attitude, but there's something wrong. Kazuki said as he looked into the hole. What? Naruto asked, knowing already what was going on. Well, it looks like she's going under holification. Kazuki said, looking back at Naruto. So the mask is forming already. Naruto said aloud, getting everyone attention. Naruto, what do you mean by the mask is forming already? Ishin asked, wanting to know what Naruto was talking about and what was happening to his daughter. Well, in rough terms, your daughter is gaining the powers of a hollow, though the mask is forming much faster than I thought it would. Naruto said as putting his hand up to stop anyone from talking. And no, she isn't going under a full holification, she's only getting a mask. Naruto said as he walked over to the hole and looked down at Ichigo to see half of the girl's face covered in white goo. In the hole with Ichigo. What the hell is this? Ichigo shouted as her face was covered in white goo that was coming out of her mouth. Wait, Naruto said, I had 3 days to find my Shinigami powers or I would become a hollow, but it's only be what, like 2 hours at the most. Ichigo thought as the goo started to take a solid form on her face. I will get through this. She thought in determination. I will not die here, I will survive this, I will save my friend. Ichigo said as she struggled to get her feet. I will not die, do you hear me? Nothing will stop me, I will live. Ichigo shouted as she heard a voice come from behind her. Inner world. Is that all the resolve you have, Ichigo? The voice asked. I was expecting more from you, Ichigo. The voice continued to say as Ichigo focused her eyes and saw that she was standing on a blue skyscraper that seemed to be on its side. Looking around, she noticed other skyscrapers that seemed to be the same way. When she turned towards the voice, she seen an old man standing on a flagpole. He's a lean-built and stoic middle-aged man. He has pale skin, with high cheekbones and stubble. He has long ragged black hair with brown highlights. His attire consists of a tattered white dress shirt with an upturned collar and cuffs, black pants, low-heeled boots, and a long, amorphous black overcoat with a burgundy highlight that flares out into ragged ends. He wears brown-tinted, semi-transparent wraparound sunglasses. Who are you? Ichigo asked. I am your Zanpakuto, but you can call me Zangetsu. The man said. Come again, I could hear you. Ichigo said, looking up at Zangetsu. It seems that you are not ready to learn my name. Zangetsu said as everything changed, making Ichigo fall as the building started to crumble away and turn into boxes. Right now you must focus, Ichigo, for in one of these boxes you shall find me. The voice of Zangetsu said as Ichigo nodded and started looking around at the boxes that were falling. How the hell am I supposed to find the right box? Ichigo thought as she looked at all the boxes that were falling around her until remembered something that Naruto and the Quincy told here. Shinigami have a red spirit ribbon. The voices of Naruto and the Quincy echoed in her head. Of course, Ichigo says, closing her eyes to concentrate on finding the right box. It took no more than a minute for her to find the correct box. She quickly rushed over to it. When she opened it, she noticed the hilt of her old sword. She took a few seconds to look around when she heard the old man voice again. What are you doing? Pull it out. The voice shouted, making her pull it out. Once she had that, when things went black outside her mind. Naruto, you have to stop her before she becomes a hollow. Kazuki said, looking down at Ichigo, who was currently struggling against the Bakuto spell that was binding her arm behind her back. She'll be fine, Kazuki. Naruto said. Ichigo broke the spell and jumped out of the hole in an explosion of power. When she landed outside of the hole, Naruto was smiling since Ichigo had reclaimed her Shinigami powers but also had enough control to draw her Zanpakuto, which was broken, and smashed the mask with its pommel. While the others had no idea what just happened, while Kazuki was thinking. So he wanted her to gain an inner hollow. Kazuki thought as he looked at Ichigo, who was now currently making her way over to Naruto. Congratulations, Ichi-chan, you're now a Shinigami again. Naruto said, only for Ichigo to smash his face in with the pommel of her Zanpakuto. Yes, and now I'm going to kill you, Naruto. So, prepare yourself. Ichigo snarled as Naruto just stared at her and chuckled. You may have gotten your Shinigami powers back, but I'm afraid that the same can't be said for your Zanpakuto. Naruto said, rolling up his left sleeve, showing that he had some kind of tattoo on it. Now then, Kekkei Genkai isn't the right blade to face you with. Naruto said before he bit his thumb and wiped the blood on the tattoo. Release. He muttered as puff of smoke came from the tattoo. When the smoke cleared, they noticed Naruto was holding a blade in his right hand. Just think Kazuki Benihime in her cane state, but with a regular handle. With the others. What the he has two Zanpakutos? Naruko asked with wide eyes. I have no clue, Princess Naruko. Kazuki said, looking at the blade. Actually he does. Masaki said, getting the attention of the others. So then that blade is a Zanpakuto? Isshin asked his wife. Yes, and her name is Tsukihime. Masaki said as she looked over to Kazuki. She's the sister sword to Kazuki's Zanpakuto Benihime. Masaki says, making Kazuki look down at his cane. She's right, Kazuki. A voice said to Kazuki. Benihime. Kazuki said, shocked since Benihime rarely talks to him. Yes, it's me, Kazuki, and what Masaki-san is true, Tsukihime is my sister. Benihime said to her master. It's true, Benihime just said so herself. Kazuki said as he looked back over to Naruto and Ichigo, which the later was running for her life as Naruto chased after her, swinging like a madman. Back over with Naruto and Ichigo. Come on, Ichi-chan, turn and face me. Naruto shouted, chasing after Ichigo while swing his blade. And give you a chance to hit me with that's kid's toy, no thank you. Ichigo shouted as she tried to stay a step ahead of Naruto. You shouldn't insult someone like that, Ichi-chan. Naruto said as his Reiatsu spiked a little. Illuminate the night sky, Tsukihime. Naruto shouted as his blade made a drastic change. It was now a sleek, medium-sized sword. The hilt's grip, which has a gentle white decorative wrapping bending forward at the end with a pommel shaped to look overlapped 3 times and a silver tail dangling from its base. Instead of a tsuba, there is a U-shaped guard covering 3 inches of the pure white blade, with a crescent moon design. At the base of the guard is a silver string wrapped thrice around the hilt with a 3-loop bow on the back side. It remains straight, somewhat of a short size, with the tip ending in a slanted razor-like edge. "Wait, why am I running?" Ichigo said as she turned around to block Naruto's Zanpakuto, only for the blade to go right through hers like it was butter. "That Zanpakuto is worthless, Ichigo. A true Zanpakuto shouldn't break that easily," Naruto said, swinging his blade again, destroying the rest of the blade and cutting the tsuba on a diagonal. Ichigo watched with wide eyes as Naruto destroyed the remainder of her blade, only leaving the hilt in her hand. The only thing she could do now was run, and that's what she did until she heard a voice call out to her. "Why do you run, Ichigo?" a voice asked. "Why are you running away, Ichigo? Turn around and face your fear," the voice says again as Zangetsu appears in front of her. "Old man, do not run. You must turn around and face him," Zangetsu said, making Ichigo stop in her tracks. "What are you doing, Ichi-chan?" Naruto said to himself when he noticed that Ichigo had stopped running and took a stance as her Reiatsu flared up around her. "Good, Ichigo, now say my name," Zangetsu shouted. "Pierce the heavens." "Zangetsu," Ichigo shouted as a cloud of dust picked up around her. When the dust cleared, Ichigo was kneeling on the ground with her hand on the hilt of her Zanpakuto, which was an oversized cleaver with no tsuba, or a proper hilt. It was about as tall as Ichigo herself. "You may want to try and dodge this, Naruto," Ichigo says, standing up and lifting her Zanpakuto above her head before swinging in down as Reiatsu in the shape of a crescent moon was released from the tip of the blade and collided with Naruto, creating a huge dust cloud. "Luckily I had the Getsuman Misuto Shirudo," Naruto said as the dust settled, showing that he had up some kind of sliver shield protecting him while Ichigo had fallen to the ground asleep. "Naruto, are you okay?" he heard Naruko say as he turned to see his sister running over to him while the others went to Ichigo. "I'm fine, Naruko," Naruto said as he released Tsukihime into his left arm. "Are you sure, Naruto?" she asked, only for her brother to walk away. "Don't worry, Naruko, I'm fine," Naruto said, turning his head back to look at his sister. "Now come on, let's go and see if Ichigo's okay," Naruto said as he turned his head forward and continued to walk over to Ichigo. A week later. It had been a week since Ichigo got her powers back while also learning the name of her Zanpakuto. But what confused Ichigo was that everyone in school had forgotten about Rukia, all except Orihime and Chad, who both knew what was going on thanks to Yoruichi. Both had said that they would help save Rukia. "That's why we find Orihime," Chad, and 15-year-old boy by the name of Ryu Ishida, a Quincy who was going for some stupid reason of his own, standing in front of Kazuki, who had just gotten done explain how they were going to get into Seraite, which was by a modified Senkaimon that Kazuki was standing in front of. "All right, you 4, listen carefully," Kazuki said, getting their attention. "You have 4 minutes to get through," Kazuki said, making Ichigo speak up. 4 minutes, Ichigo said, looking at Kazuki. "Yes. That's all the time I could get you," Kazuki said, opening the Senkaimon. "Good luck," he said as the 4 of them took off into the gate with Yoruichi sitting on Ichigo's shoulder. "In Seraite. All right, this should be the spot where they should drop in," Naruto said, looking up into the sky. Unlike other times when Naruto was in his Shinigami form, this time he had both Zanpakutos strapped to his left hip while still wearing the same white hakama with a black sash and a ragged white jacket with an upturned collar. He still left the jacket open, leaving his muscular chest exposed, and this time the Shiki Fujin on his stomach that held the Kyubi was showing. "Are you sure, Naruto?" Naruko asked her brother. While she had her hair in the same pigtails, she was now wearing a variation of the outfit that Naruto was wearing. The jacket had a high collar that covered the lower part of her face downward, while stopping just a little below her large DD cup S, leaving her stomach uncovered. The jacket had a zipper running along its entire length that is opened from the bottom upwards. The jacket's sleeves completely envelop her arms, while her pants were the same as Naruto's. "Of course I am," Naruto said, still looking up as a hole in the sky opened up, shooting out 4 people and a cat from what had looked like an explosion. "See, told you," Naruto said to his sister as the 5 objects crash right into the ground behind them. Must you always be right? Naruko asked as her brother turned around to look at the 5 who just crashed into the ground. Yes, Naruto says, walking up to the group as Yoruichi hit Orihime in the eye and started lecturing her about how stupid she was for using her powers when she said not to. So how was the flight, everyone? Naruto asked, making everyone look up at him with confusion beside Ichigo. Naruto, how did you get here? Orihime asked as she nursed her eye. I took shortcut, Naruto said, shrugging his shoulders. You're a Shinigami? Uryu asked as he replaced his cape. Yes and no, Naruto said, confusing them. Yes, I am a Shinigami, but no, I don't work for Seraite. Naruto said. Now get the up, we got thing to do. Naruto said as he noticed Ichigo running towards the entrance. Ichigo, you fool, stop, Naruto shouted to her, but it was too late as the answer came in the arrival of a literal giant of a man. The man wore a Shinigami Shihakusho, a red hat with tassels, and armor on his left arm. Who goes there? I am Jidanbo, the gatekeeper, and I have the duty of keeping people who don't belong out of the Seraite. Same as canon. Now while Ichigo and Jidanbo were fighting, Naruto and Yoruichi were asking an elderly soul if he knew where the local fireworks expert Kukaku Shiba was. When they heard the defeated voice of Jidanbo. Captain Ichimaru, what are you doing here? Jidanbo asked, looking at said captain. Now the Shinigami named Ichimaru was a fairly tall man with silver hair, squinted eyes, and a fox-like grin on his face. Of course his answer was to slice off one of the gatekeeper's arms. Jidanbo, you poor fool, being a gatekeeper means that when you lose, the result is death. Ichimaru said, only for him to freeze when he caught the eyes of Naruto, who had ran over to Ichigo, but it didn't last long due to the gate slamming to the ground. While Orihime got to work on fixing the gatekeeper's arm, Naruto and the others had gone back to the elderly soul who had info on Kukaku Shiba. 5 minutes later, once the group had gotten the info from the old man, someone literally crashed into the room, rolling across the floor. Huh, what's going on? And why is there a boar here? Ichigo asked as she looked from the figure, rather large boar with a red ribbon tied on top of it. Thrown off by Bonnie once again. The apparent boar rider spoke, getting to his feet. Hey old man, it's been a long time. The man said, offering a 2-finger salute, and thankfully not the rude one. Ganju, what are you doing here? You should leave now, the old man told Ganju, who looked up at the man. It may have been some time since I have been here, but come on, is that any way to greet an old friend? What would your guess? Ganju's sentence was cut off as he spotted Naruto, Ichigo, and Yoruichi in her cat form. Would someone explain why there's a stinking Shinigami here? Ganju said, looking at Ichigo while taking off a pair of sunglasses. Naruto just shook his head at how his soon-to-be brother-in-law was acting. What did you just say? Ichigo asked quietly as Ganju stomped over. What, your ear's not working? I asked, why is there a stinking Shinigami here? Ganju lightly tapped the side of Ichigo's face as he spoke in a condescending tone, and of course Ichigo's response was to punch Ganju in the face. Don't you know who I am? Ganju asked, getting up. No, the said group besides 3 people. Don't wanna know, Ichigo said in a bored tone. Which of course made Ganju furious at the loss of recognition, and he started to proclaim many ridiculous titles for himself, which ended at #1 Shinigami hater of the West Rukongai. Which of course Ichigo just ignored him, making Ganju retaliate by punching her in the face. Of course that little action led the two of them to having a little scuffle in the streets, while Naruto was just standing off to the side shaking his head. Ladies and gentlemen, my idiot of a brother-in-law, Naruto says, shaking his head as his sister spoke up. Brother-in-law? Naruto questioned. Yes, and don't worry, I'll explain after everything is over. Naruto said. Watch the two go at each other's throat while Yoruichi had thanked the elder for the information and a place to stay. But before things got too out of hand, an alarm tied to the back of one of Ganju's friends went off, showing that it was 9 p.m. He quickly called his boar and rode away with his friends while shouting back to Ichigo. You stay right there, Dandelion Head. I'll be back tomorrow to finish this. Ganju shouted as he rode off on his boar, which pissed off Ichigo and left the others sighing in relief. There's chapter 5. My original thought was to make this chapter end the day that they use Kukaku's flower crane cannon to break through the shield of Seraite, but I decided to end it here since the I'm going to explain by I called Ganju, Naruto's soon-to-be brother-in-law in the next chapter, and yes, that means that Kukaku Shiba is a part of Naruto's harem. Now 8 have been chosen, and these are the ones: Naruko, Mashiro, Hana, Soi Fan, Rangaku, Kasumi, female Kyuubi, Kukaku, female Ichigo. The top 3 for the poll that I put up early will be added as well, of my choosing from the one of the ones that didn't make it. Also, Naruto has 2 Zanpakuto, he just carries Kekkei Genkai with him all the time while his other one is in a seal on his left arm. Now as for how Ichigo got her powers back, I made it kind of similar to the Shattered Shaft by using Bakuto number 99 part 1 as well as the hole in Naruto attacking Ichigo so she could get her true Zanpakuto. The group had stayed the night with the old man who had offered them a place to stay for the night and would leave in the morning to find Kukaku's house. At least they tried to, but Ichigo was adamant about waiting for Ganju to show up so she could finish their fight that they had started last night and not be seen as a coward. But her struggle didn't last long, as Yoruichi easy changed Ichigo's mind by swiping her claws against Ichigo's face. While they were walking along the dirt road, the teens were trying to figure out what this Kukaku person would be like. Both Yoruichi and Naruto sighed and shook their heads at the antics of the others. It came to a stop when Naruto noticed a house that had banner above it held by 2 large stone arms. The banner said, Kukaku Shiba Uzumaki, which got a twitch from Naruto and a confused look from the others before Naruto spoke up saying they were here. Rukia's cell. Since Rukia was brought back, she had been placed in a cell. Over the time she had thought about all the mistakes she had made in her life. She regretted ending the life of her previous lieutenant, Kaion Shiba. Saddened that she pulled 2 new friends into her dangerous life. She was also going over what her old friend Renji told her, how she would be moved to Senzaiku and how her execution would take place on Sokyoku Hill. She wasn't afraid to die, she was afraid that her friends would die because of her. Please, everyone just forget about me, Rukia thought sadly. Back with the group. As they approached the house, a pair of bizarre men who looked like twins stopped them from going any further and said that attempting to enter the house would be the same as asking for death. Yoruichi was about to defuse the situation, but Naruto beat her to it as he walked over to the 2 men and grabbed a hold of their scarves and pulled on them, bring the 2 men to their knees and eye level with Naruto. The 2 men that Naruto was looking at were Koganehiko and Shiroganehiko, the guards for Kukaku's house. Both were wearing red hats with golden trim and a white tassel on the top and a light blue scarf tied at the front by a red fastener with golden highlights. Shiroganehiko was wearing a yellow top, while Koganehiko was wearing a white one. The only notable differences between Koganehiko and Shiroganehiko, apart from the differing color of their clothes, are some features of their faces. Koganehiko had a broad face and a split chin, while Shiroganehiko had a long face and a normal chin. Koganehiko, Shiroganehiko, Naruto said, glaring at the 2 men. How could you forget me? I was just here last week, Naruto said in a too sweet of voice, making the 2 gulp at who was glaring at them. Naruto dono, they both said at the same time as Naruto let them go. Please forgive us, we had no clue that you were coming today, they said with a bow, shocking everyone, even Yoruichi, at how the 2 addressed Naruto. How many times have I told you not to call me that? Naruto said, rolling his eyes at being called dono. Now get up and take us to Kukaku please, Naruto said, getting a nod from the 2 as they got up and told them to follow them. The 2 had escorted the group into the house and down to the room where Kukaku was. When they had got there, the 2 were getting ready to tell her that she had visitors, but she spoke up saying that there were special guests. When the 2 had opened the door, the group had noticed a woman of average height, with green eyes and black hair that was partly wrapped in white cloth. She wore a partially revealing robe that showed her endowment, a white skirt, and some sandals. She was missing most of her right arm and her left had a tattoo on it. This was Kukaku Shiba. Kukaku's a woman, the group shouted at the same time as Naruto and Yoruichi walked into the room. We never said she wasn't, you just assumed she was a man, Naruto said, looking over his shoulder with a grin before turning back to Kukaku with a smile. Well, look at what the cat dragged in, one more cat that doesn't come to visit me, Kukaku said, looking at Yoruichi before turning her head towards Naruto. And one sneaky fox, Kukaku says, looking at Naruto with a smirk. Hey Kukaku-chan, how's it going? Naruto said, returning the very same smirk. You know, the afterlife drags on, Kukaku said, shrugging her shoulders. So who are the brats? She asked, pointing to the 5 standing behind him and Yoruichi. Just some associates. Ichigo Kurasaki, Sito Yasutora, Orihime Inoue, Ryu Ishida, and Naruto's younger sister Naruko Uzumaki Namikaze. They're here to save someone from being executed. Yoruichi said, being the one to speak up this time. So, this isn't a social visit, huh? Kukaku asked, as Naruto and Yoruichi shook their heads no. Alright, I'm game. What's the situation? Kukaku asked, only to get a brief overview of what was going on. We're going to need use that method, Yoruichi said, causing Naruto to smirk. Well, not like I could say no, since it involves Kazuki. So I'll help out, but since I only trust you and Naruto-kun, I'm going to be sending an overseer. Kukaku said, standing up, and walked over to a door while Ichigo just raised an eyebrow. An overseer? Ichigo questioned, as the other had somewhat the same thought. Yeah, well, that's what I call him. He's actually my idiot of a brother. He's not of that much use really, but hey, he's family. Kukaku said, stopping in front of a pair of sliding doors. Hey, in there, you ready? Kukaku asked. Yeah sis, I'm ready, a voice answered back. All right, be on your best behavior, you hear me? I'm opening the door now, Kukaku said, getting a muffled yes from the man before she slides the door open. It's an honor to meet you all. My name is Ganju Shiba and I'm pleased to be of service. The man turned out to be the same Ganju that Ichigo had fought with last night, and the expression on everyone's faces who knew showed that they thought that this was some sort of joke. Naruto was just rubbing his temples, knowing this was going to cause a major headache. The moment Ganju looked up, noticed that the ones in front of him were the same ones from last night. This of course had led to an awkward silence in the room, which was broken a second later. Ah, it's you. Both Ichigo and Ganju shouted while pointing at each other. You've already met? Kukaku asked, standing next to wall as Ichigo and Ganju started fighting once again. You could say that Ichigo and Ganju had a minor disagreement last night, Naruto said, waking up to Kukaku with a sake bottle in his hands, which escalated into a fight a few seconds later. Naruto said before taking a sip of sake. Naruto-kun, I think you should stop them before they ruin the house, Kukaku said with a sigh as Ichigo sent Ganju through another door. All right, Naruto said, handing his sake over to Kukaku. Bakudo 63, Seijo Sabaku, Naruto said calmly as chains of Reiatsu wrapped around both Ichigo and Ganju, causing them to fall. That's enough, you two, Naruto says with a fox-like smile as a fox head appears behind him with a bloodthirsty grin, making them gulp in fear. Brother's mad, Ganju thought as the fox head looked at him. What the is that? Ichigo thought, as she looked at the fox head that appeared behind Naruto. I had no idea that Naruto could be so scary, Ichigo says, looking over at Ganju. I know, Ganju said with fear as the fox disappeared. 5 minutes later, after Naruto had stopped Ichigo and Ganju from destroying any more of the house, Kukaku had then led the group to a room that had what looked like to be a chimney, but was soon described as a cannon as the twins started to raise it up to the surface. This beauty is my specially designed fireworks launch pad, and the beauty behind me is, Kukaku said, only to get interrupted by her brother. The flower crane cannon, Ganju shouted, cutting his sister off only to receive a foot to the face from his sister. That's my line, you idiot, Kukaku said while grinding her foot on the back of her brother's head before turning to the group. So how do you like it? Left you speechless, huh? She questioned, very proud of her creation. With this cannon I'll be able to fire you into Seraite, Kukaku said, getting a shocked look from the Quincy. You may be a pyrotechnics expert, but firing us out of a cannon seems out of luck. Yuryu's rant was stopped by a fairly large sphere the size of a medicine ball hitting him in the face, only to be caught by Ichigo. What's this? Ichigo asked, looking at the clear blue sphere with a bird-like symbol etched on it. It's a Ryushukaku or spirit core. Add some Reiatsu to it and you'll see how we'll be getting you all into Seraite, Kukaku said as Ichigo started to move it around in her hands before Naruto snatched it away from her. Forgot I never did show you how to use your Reiatsu, did I, Ichi-chan? Naruto said as he started adding Reiatsu to the spirit core, which 4 seconds later formed a barrier around him as Kukaku came over and tapped on the barrier. Not bad, Naru-kun, it's stronger than usual, Kukaku said before turning to the group. This barrier that's around Naru-kun will be acting as the cannonball for you guys. Now allow me to elaborate for you guys, You see, Seraite isn't just protected by the gate alone, there is a special stone called Sekiseki that protects Seraite from above and below. Now Sekiseki emits a wave that can break down Reiatsu from all sides. She said before tapping the sphere again. This cannonball was designed to break through the barrier, and with all of you combining your Reiatsu together it should make it big enough for all of you. Now since there's 3 Shinigami here it should be easy, but still I expect all of you to train on how to use it. Kukaku, I'm afraid Ichigo will have to train with the rest of them. Yoruichi said, making Kukaku look over at the Werkat. What? She's a Shinigami, why would she have to train? She asked, confused, knowing that manipulating Reiatsu was the simplest of things for Shinigami. Well, actually she's the substitute Shinigami that I was telling you about. She said as Kukaku gave Ichigo a look of disbelief. Koganehiko, Shiroganehiko, take them all to the underground bunker and get them started on training. Make sure the orange-haired one gets the roughest training package. She ordered the twins, who then picked up Ichigo, Oryu, Chad and Orihime and took them inside, with Yoruichi following after them, while Naruto, Naruko, Ganju, and Kukaku just stood by the launch pad listening to the shouts of the 4 that were being taken inside. An hour later. An hour had passed since Ichigo and the other 3 started their training, and in that time only Oryu, Chad, and Orihime had been able to create a cannonball, while Ichigo was still have trouble creating hers, so she was still downstairs trying to create hers while the others were upstairs eating. Hey Orihime, why aren't you eating? Naruto asked, looking at the girl's tray that looked like it was untouched. I'm not that hungry, she replied, only for her stomach to growl in disagreement. Orihime, I know what you're trying to do, Naruto said, looking at the girl who was punching her stomach. Stop hitting yourself, woman, you're going to make it worse, Naruto shouted as the house started to shake. Ichigo. They all shouted, jumping up and running out the door to the underground training room that Ichigo was in. Outside. No, the great Kukaku arms are falling apart. Both Koganehiko and Shiroganehiko shouted as bitten pieces of the arms started to break off of them. While they were paying attention to the arms, they didn't see the 2 11-year-old run up behind them. Hey Koganehiko, Shiroganehiko, what's going on? A voice asked from behind them. Huh, Koganehiko said, turning around to see 2 11-year-olds looking up at him. Rei-sama, Seiko-sama, welcome home, Koganehiko said, looking down at the girls. The first girl had shoulder-length blonde hair and blue eyes and what looked like to be faint signs of whisker marks on her cheeks. She was wearing a red skirt with a matching tank top. She also had a pair of earrings and a necklace with the Uzumaki swirl. This was Rei Shiba Uzumaki. Next to her was a girl with shoulder-length black hair and blue eyes, who also had the faint signs of whisker marks on her cheeks. Unlike the other girl, she was wearing a white skirt and a black tank top. She also had the same pair of earrings and necklace on. She was Rei's twin sister, Seiko Shiba Uzumaki. Both of them were the daughters of Kukaku Shiba and Naruto Uzumaki. You didn't answer my question, what's go? Rei asked as an explosion was heard, making the girls run into the house worrying about their mother. Before the explosion, Ganju, what's happening? Kukaku asked as Naruto and the other came running down the hall. Nei-san, I'm sorry, I just showed him once, I didn't think he would get that fast, Ganju said as her sister opened the door to see Ichigo inside of an unstable cannonball. Ichi, concentrate, you're releasing too much Reiatsu, Naruto shouted, making Ichigo nod her head and focus a little more clearly. She did it, Oryu said, honestly surprised, already knowing Ichigo's capabilities in channeling her spirit energy. Hey, yeah, I did, said an equally surprised Ichigo, looking away from her sphere and making it shudder and crack before resulting in an explosion. Kukaku and Naruto face-palmed. Ichi, I told you to concentrate, didn't I? Naruto said as the smoke started to clear, showing rubble all over the place from the destroyed ceiling. Well, Ganju, since this is your fault, neither you nor Crispy get any dinner tonight, she said, making her bother whine for a little bit until her foot connected to his head. Aw, come on, I've been at this all day now. Another sphere was thrown at his head, throwing him back. I don't care, you only got it once while everyone else can do it just fine, and besides you put a ing hole in my home, Carrot Top, Kukaku shouted just as 2 girls came running into the room. Mother, they shouted, running into the room that looked like a war zone. You 2 are back early, Kukaku said, looking over at the 2 11-year-old girls that had just ran into the room, while Naruto just looked at them with a smile. Are you okay, mother? Seiko asked, looking at her mother, getting a nod from her as Naruto spoke up. Of course she's fine. Now Ray-chan. Seiko-chan, don't I get a hug? Naruto said, speaking up, making the girls look over at him with huge smiles before tackling him to the ground. Daddy, you're home. Ray exclaimed, hugging her father. We missed you, Dad. Seiko said, hugging her father just like her sister was. I missed you girls too. Naruto replied as he returned their hugs. Naruto's a father. They all shouted while Ichigo just looked at the girls that were hugging Naruto as she thought back to what he told her earlier that week. Flashback start. It had been 4 days since Ichigo got her power back and since Naruto confessed his love to her, but Naruto knew he would have to tell Ichigo about his plans to bring back his mother's clan, or the fact that she would have to share him with other girls. There's something I need to tell you, Ichi-chan. Naruto said, looking over to the door of Ichigo's room. I don't want you to say anything until I tell you everything, okay? Naruto says, closing his eyes and taking a deep breath before placing a privacy jutsu up around Ichigo's room so no one would hear what he was going to say. Okay, she said, wondering what he wanted to tell her. You have to understand, Ichigo, that I was born 116 years ago on an unknown continent called Elemental, at least that's what we called it. The island continent was very hard to find due to cloaking seals that were put around it. Now the continent itself was rather large, containing 5 major lands, each named after an element, and to each county there was a major hidden village. Naruto said, getting up and walking over to the desk to pick up a piece of paper and a pencil. Now then, the 5 lands were of lightning, fire, water, wind, and earth. Naruto said, drawing a rough diagram of elemental. Now the villages are leaf, sand, rock, mist, and cloud. The village I came from was the Hidden Leaf Village, which was the major shinobi village of Land of Fire. The Hidden Sand Village was the major shinobi village in the Land of Wind. The Hidden Rock Village was the major shinobi village in the Land of Earth. The Hidden Mist Village was the major shinobi village in the Land of Water, and the Hidden Cloud Village was the major shinobi village in the Land of Lightning. Naruto said, drawing the symbol of each village. You with me so far, Ichi-chan? Naruto asked, looking up at the orange-haired girl. Yes. 5 major lands. 5 major villages, 1 to each land, leaf to fire, sand to wind, rock to earth, mist to water, and cloud to lightning. Ichigo said, getting a nod from Naruto. Good. Now then, in my village we had what was known as clans. Each clan could use a special trait that was inherited from their parents. This trait was known as a Kekkei Genkei, and yes, that's the name of one of my Zanpakutos. Naruto said, flipping to a clean page in the notebook. Now there were 7 clans, each with a different Kekkei Genkei, which I won't explain since I agreed to keep all that a secret, but there's one clan that died out during a war. They never lived in the Leaf Village. Naruto said, drawing an island with an Uzumaki swirl in the middle. Now while the clan died out during the war, 1 girl survived, and that girl would later become my mother. Naruko, our mother, and me are the last of the Uzumaki clan. Naruto said, closing the notebook. My mother was human before Dad turned her into a Shinigami. Now you see, the Uzumaki clan was feared for talents in an art called Fuinjutsu, or the art of sealing. Our family trait was advanced regeneration. Naruto said, sitting back down on the bed. I had found my mom's diary about 20 years after I left the village. All that was in it was her day-to-day writing, but in the back of the diary was her greatest wish. Naruto said, looking Ichigo in eye. Her wish was to see the Uzumaki clan brought back to life, and that day I made a promise that I would see my mother's dream come true. Naruto said, looking away from Ichigo. Now you see, in order to revive a clan, the village would put said last member in something called the Clan Restoration Act. Naruto said, knowing what he was about to tell her would most likely hurt her. The CRA is basically a harem of sorts. I would have to marry a certain number of girls. Naruto said, turning back to look at her. But you see, cause I'm not in the village, the CRA won't work. But Naruto tried to say, only to be interrupted by Ichigo. So basically you're just asking if I'm okay with sharing? Ichigo asked bluntly. You didn't have to put it so bluntly. Naruto said with a sweat drop. But yes. Naruto said, nodding his head. I suppose I could share you. Ichigo said with a smirk, shocking Naruto that she wouldn't put up a fight over sharing him with other girls. But I have one condition, which is very simple. Ichigo said with a smile. Just love us all equal and I'll be happy. Ichigo said, kissing Naruto on the cheek. There is one other thing. Naruto said, looking her in the eyes. What's that? Ichigo asked. I have two 11-year-old daughters who live in Seraite, which you'll meet when we go. Naruto told her only to see her smile. There is one thing you should know: when a soul is born it takes 100 years for them to be full grown. Naruto said, getting a confused look out of Ichigo. It's hard to explain, you see, it takes 6 years for a soul to age 1 human year, so while my daughter look like an 11-year-old, their mental age is actually that of a human in their late 60s. Naruto said, shocking her. Not only does it take longer for them to grow up, they live a lot longer. Naruto said with a chuckle at seeing how shocked Ichigo's face was. Flashback end. When she came back from her thoughts, she noticed that everyone was throwing questions at him left and right, asking how he could be a father to two 11-year-old girls. Naruto, how can they be your daughters? You're only 16. Orihime questioned with a cute face like she also does, which got a chuckle out of Naruto as his daughter got off him so he could get up. Hime-chan, I was born as a Shinigami. Naruto said with a smirk. Besides, who said I was 16? Naruto said as the smirk changed into a grin. How old are you then? Chad asked, making Naruto look over at the tall Mexican man. About 116, give or take a year or two. Naruto said, shocking Chad, Orihime, and Uryu at what he said. That's impossible, you should be an old man. Uryu shouted. Not really, since a Shinigami's aging process is a lot different than a living being's. Naruto said, shrugging his shoulders. Now if you'll excuse me, I'm going to spend a little time with my daughters. Naruto said before turning around and walking out the door with his daughters following after him. The next day in Seraite. In the captain's chambers of the Seraite, all of the squad Taicho were in the middle of a meeting. There were a total of 12 captains present and accounted for. The first was a man with black and white face paint, a strange hat, and even stranger additions to his features. His ears and chin were covered by strange gold attachments of sorts, and his right middle fingernail was much longer than the other nails. He also wore a purple scarf. He was Mayuri Kuratsuchi of Squad 12. Next was a tall man with spiky, bell-tipped hair, a scared face, and an eye patch on his right eye. He had a look of pure boredom on his face. He was Kenpachi Zaraki of Squad 11. Next was a teenage-looking man with pure white hair and ice-blue eyes. He had a serious demeanor and paid close attention. This was Toshiro Hitsugaya of Squad 10. Next was a dark-skinned man who wore an orange scarf, clear goggles, and had pale purple eyes, a result of being blind since birth. He was Konami Tosen of Squad 9. Next was a tall man with gray eyes and long wavy brown hair. He wore a straw hat and a pink, flowered lady's kimono, which he drapes across his shoulders and over his captain's uniform. His hair was tied into a ponytail with bangs draping the left side of his face. This was Shunsui Kyoraku of Squad 8. The next captain was a tall figure with large, gloved hands and a helmet covering his entire face. This was Sajin Komamura of Squad 7. Byakuya Kuchiki was the Squad 6 captain. The next captain was a kind-looking man with brown hair and glasses. He had a look of pure calm on his face. This was Sosuke Aizen of Squad 5. The next captain was a gentle-looking woman with long black hair that was draped over her shoulders and braided in front of her. She was Retsu Unohana of Squad 4. Jin Ichimaru was the captain of Squad 3. Next was a serious-looking woman who wore her hair short with two long braids bound in white cloth, each ending in a large golden ring. The rings were attached to the sheath of her zanpakuto. This was Soi Fan of Squad 2. The last captain is also the leader of all the Taicho. He was an old man with red eyes, a very long white beard, and long eyebrows. There were many scars on his torso and head, the two most prominent being a pair of long, perpendicular scars above his right eye, suggesting numerous battles in his past. He was Genryusai Shigekuni Yamamoto, captain of Squad 1 and head captain of the Gote 13. Oh my, all the esteemed captains of the Gote 13 here just for me. I think I should feel honored, but I don't see captain of Squad 13. Jin said with his fox-like grin showing. Jashiro was taken ill again. Shunsui said, tipping his hat a little. I hope he gets better soon. So why was this meeting called? Jin asked as he heard Yamamoto slam the tip of his cane on the ground. We are here to discuss the action, or rather the lack of actions, that you took against the Ryoka the other day at the gate. What do you have to say for yourself, Captain Ichimaru? The head captain questioned. Oh my, I didn't think that they would be so important. I'll be sure to correct my mistake if I see them again. Jin said with chuckle. The head captain wasn't entirely convinced but nodded nonetheless. Be sure that you do. Now then, we need to, he tried to say only to be interrupted by the intruder alarms going off and Kenpachi immediately went off to search for the strongest of the group. Yamamoto decided to end the meeting and ordered the captains into battle stations and left to go command his own squad. I wanted to keep going but I decided leave of right here and pick up with the blast off at the beginning of the next chapter. Now as for the reason why I didn't have the group ask how Naruto knew Kukaku, because I wanted to save that little bit for another chapter as well as the first meeting between Masaki and Naruto. The reason for him having daughters was with him being around for so long I thought he should have a daughter or two. Now Minato and Kushina will be making an appearance very soon but I'm not saying when. It will also reveal the truth behind the medallion halves. The three following girls are now in the harem. Chapter 7 should be up soon seeing as I already have it 50% done. Soda no Shirayuki, Yoruichi, Neliel, I'm not doing the launch. Since I ed with the canon by making Masaki a Shinigami and having Yuzu and Karen learn that they're Shinigamis, I might as well with the canon even more since this is a fanfiction and not the series itself, so if you don't want to read then don't read. Warning, there will be other characters from other animes coming into this chapter. Last time on NOTV. Oh my, all the esteemed captains of the Gote 13 here just for me. I think I should feel honored, but I don't see Captain of Squad 13. Jin said with his fox-like grin showing. Jashiro was taken ill again. Shunsui said, tipping his hat a little. I hope he gets better soon. So why was this meeting called? Jin asked as he heard Yamamoto slam the tip of his cane on the ground. We are here to discuss the action, or rather the lack of actions, that you took against the Ryoka the other day at the gate. What do you have to say for yourself, Captain Ichimaru? The head captain questioned. Oh my, I didn't think that they would be so important. I'll be sure to correct my mistake if I see them again. Jin said with chuckle. The head captain wasn't entirely convinced but nodded nonetheless. Be sure that you do. Now then, we need to, he tried to say only to be interrupted by the intruder alarms going off and Kenpachi immediately went off to search for the strongest of the group. Yamamoto decided to end the meeting and ordered the captains into battle stations and left to go command his own squad. With the group in the cannonball. The cannon only took a few seconds before it broke through. However, after it broke through, the cannonball started to break apart. What's going on? We blasted through the shield but we are not going down. Ichigo states. We're just floating here, she exclaims. Don't get separated. The cannonball was destroyed by the shield, but residual energy will still hold us up until it dissolves. Yoruichi explained to the Rukia rescue team. And what'll happen then? Ryu asked. It will become a whirlpool, then explode and vanish. Yoruichi said, startling Orihime. We must stick together, because anyone who gets separated will be blown away by the explosion. Suddenly, the air current started to pick up and began pushing the others out. Grab the person next to you and hold on tight, Yoruichi told them. Chad grabbed Orihime and threw her to Ryu. Ichigo grabs Ganju and Yoruichi jumps over to Chad but was too late as everyone in the sphere were sent in different directions. With Naruto and Naruko during the explosion. It seems that the group made it in Naruto ni. Naruko said, looking up at the explosion that was caused by the cannonball hitting the barrier. Yes, it seems so, Naruko, but it also seems that their Reiatsu wasn't stable enough seeing as the ball blow up. Naruto said, looking up as the ball blow up, shooting his friends in different directions. Let's go, Naruko, before someone shows up. Naruto said, getting ready to run off, only for a familiar voice to stop them. And where do you think you're going, intruder? The voice said from above them, making both him and Naruko looked up only to see three Shinigamis, but not just any three. These were the very ones that taught Naruto everything he knew in the ninja arts. The first was an old man with gray hair and brown eyes wearing the standard Shinigami uniform with what looked like to be shinobi battle armor over it. This man was Hijiran Sarutobi, the third Hokage. To his left was a woman with long blonde hair and brown eyes, with her height at 5 feet 6 inches. Instead of wearing the uniform, she was wearing a kimono-style blouse with no sleeves held closed by a broad dark bluish-gray obi that matched her pants. Her blouse was closed quite low, revealing a good portion of her cleavage. She had on open-toed sandals with high heels. This was none other than his godmother Tsunade Senju. The last was man in his late 50s with height of 6 feet 7 inches. He had waist-length spiky white hair tied back into a ponytail. For cloths he wore a green short shirt kimono with matching pants. He also had mesh armor that was underneath and hand guards. He wore simple wooden sandals and a red haori. He also wore a headband that had the kanji for soul on it. This was his godfather Jiraiya. Well, ain't this a nice reunion? Naruto thought to himself as he looked up at the three with a tear running down his cheek and a frown on his face. As much as I would like to fight the three of you, I'm afraid I can't, for I things to do. Naruto said, placing a hand on Naruko's before disappearing in a yellow flash. Tsunade. Jiraiya, find them now. Hijiran said to the two standing next to him. Right, sensei. They both said before using a shunpo to leave the area to find the intruders, with Hijiran following after them. Unknown location. Where are we, Naruto? Naruko asked her brother as the light faded, showing some sort of cave. You, my dear little girl, are in one of Maelstrom hideouts underneath the Seraite. A voice said from behind her, making her jump and turn to the voice only to be shocked at who it was and what she was seeing. The girl in question was about a year or two older than herself, with long red hair reaching down to her waist with blood-red eyes with slits. She was wearing blood-red battle kimono, but what shocked her the most was that she had a pair of fox ears and 9 fluffy tails swinging behind her. Yes, the Kyuubi isn't sealed in Naruto. Hey, it'd been years, so of course he would find a way to unseal her. Kasumi WW, what are you doing here? Naruko asked, shaking in fear at having to fight one of the best fighters from Squad 11. I think the more important question is, why are you here, Naruko? Kasumi growled, only to get hit on the back of the head by Naruto. Kasumi, be nice, and besides I brought her here to help us. Naruto said, glaring at her. Why, she's one of them, Naru-kun. Kasumi said, glaring at Naruko. No, she's not, Kasumi. Naruto said, getting a raised eyebrow from said women. What do you mean not one of them, Naruto? She asked. Naruko just so happens to be my younger sister, which means she is second in line for the throne and your sister-in-law. Naruto said, making both Naruko and Kasumi look at each other with wide eyes. Sister-in-law, they both shouted before being slapped over the head by Naruto. Both of you shut up, Naruto said as he slapped them over the head. Good, now listen to me, both of you. Kasumi, I know you don't trust her, seeing that she's part of the Gote 13, but you need to work with her, okay? He stopped speaking and turned to Naruko and started to speak. And Naruko, I know all this is a lot to take in, from finding out that you're an aunt as well as finding out you have 2 sister-in-laws, but you have to trust me. Kasumi won't do anything unless I ask her to. Naruto said with a smile, getting a nod from both his sister and Kasumi. Good, now then Kasumi, I want you to train Naruko in the Kitsune arts. Naruto said, getting a nod from Kasumi as Naruko started to speak up. What you're going to do, brother? Naruko asked, looking over at her brother as he started to leave. Me, I'm going cause some chaos, Naruto said as his full body visored mask appeared before he disappeared. Alright Blondie, let's go, Kasumi said as she grabbed Naruko by her shoulder and started to drag her to one of the training rooms in the hideout. With Naruto, let's see, where did I end up? Naruto said to himself as he looked around, only to be sent flying into a wall by someone. Gotcha, you filthy intruder, a voice said that, all too familiar to him. Should have guessed that Kiba would be one of the ones to find me faster than anyone else. Hinata and Shino should be with him as well, one of the best tracking teams to ever come out of our shinobi class. Naruto thought as he got up and walked out of the hole in the wall to see that he was right. Standing right there in front of him were 3 of his ex-classmates from the academy. The first was a tall teen with wild brown hair, and 2 marks, one on each cheek. He was wearing the standard uniform with his zanpakuto on his back. This was Kiba Inuzuka. Next to him was another tall male wearing the same uniform as the first. The only difference was that he was wearing glasses and his zanpakuto was tied to his waist. This was Shino Aburame. The last was a beautiful woman. She had waist-length lavender blue hair and white eyes with her zanpakuto strapped to her waist. This was Hinata Hyuga. Just surrender, we have you outnumbered, Shino said, putting his right hand on his zanpakuto. Numbers mean nothing to me, Naruto said as he took out Tsukihime. Beside, unlike you 3, I don't have to hold back, Naruto said as he charged forward towards the 3 with Tsukihime ready. Shit, he's right, the head captain wanted the intruders alive. The 3 of them thought as Naruto charged at them. Nake, Tsukihime, With that, Naruto swung Tsukihime downwards, creating an arc of energy in the shape of a crescent moon. Shit, he's going all out right from the start. Kiba shouted as he and the others dodged the attack. KK Kiba-kun, what do we do? Hinata asked as she stood up. I don't know, but we won't give up, Hinata. Kiba said as he and Shino started to stand up while Naruto started to laugh. What's so funny, intruder? Kiba shouted only for Naruto to laugh louder. What I find funny is the fact that the three of you think you can stop me when you can't. No one can stop me or what is to come. Naruto said with a smirk under his mask. Today the liberation of the Seraite shall start. For the Seraite, as you know, it shall fall and a new one shall take its place. So now Kiba Inuzuka, Shino Aburame, and Hinata Hyuga look upon the face of the one that shall bring down your so-called heaven. Naruto said as his mask disappeared, revealing his face and shocking the three below him. Naruto. The three shouted in shock that the one person that they had been looking for over 80 years was right in front of them. Hado 104-tailed beast Sero. Naruto said with a smirk as he charged up a ball of dark energy in his right hand and pointed it at the three and fired it, not caring if they lived or died, since to him they were now his enemies. Right before it hit them he had vanished so he wouldn't get caught in the explosion. Unknown location. It seems that Naruto-kun is making his move, said a beautiful woman that stood 5 feet 6, with navy blue eyes, long white hair that went past her waist a little bit. She wore a purple sleeveless collared tank top that showed off her flat lean stomach and stretched against her large E-cup, dark blue jeans with a belt that hugged her long legs and plump rear snugly, a blue teardrop-shaped necklace, and a white flower bracelet and black combat boots. It's about time. A man said. He stood 6 feet 1, spiky black hair and dark blue eyes. He wasn't wearing a shirt, letting the world see his toned and very muscular body, with some kind of stamp below his collarbone on his right pectoral muscle that was dark blue. He wore a necklace that looked like a sword with a stone in it, a metal bracelet, black pants with a chain attached, and black boots. That was until they somehow vanished, leaving him in only his boxers. Gray your cloths, another woman said, sitting at a bar drinking what looked like to be wine. The woman in question was a woman stood at 5 feet 4 with sleek, shiny brown hair that came down to the small of her back, deep chocolate brown eyes, metallic bracelets on her arms, a belt diagonally crosses over her chest, holding up a tail of feathers behind her waist, tight knee-length black shorts that showed off rear, and a flimsy blue bra holding back a pair of DD sized that were nearly spilling out of her top, with a belt on her lower body, and high-heeled shoes. Juvia's happy that Naruto-sama's back, Juvia said with small hearts in her eyes. Juvia is a slender, young woman with blue hair that falls past her shoulders, dark blue eyes, pale skin, and a curvaceous figure. Now Juvia was wearing a knee-high dark dress coat, which is adorned with 4, symmetrically placed, light-colored buttons on the chest. The coat is garnished with fur trimmings around her sleeve cuffs and neck. She also had a matching, dark, Russian-style hat, stylized with a light-colored Uzumaki swirl, which, in itself, is attached to the fur trimming garnishing her hat. Completing her outfit, she has a light brown belt around her waist and wearing complementing, dark brown, thigh-high boots. With Ichigo and Ganju, before they landed, Ganju had managed to create a crater filled with sand. Spitting out sand. Thanks to your goofy spell, we're now safe for the moment, Ichigo said in between spitting out sand. The sand went down the wrong pipe, coughing, Ganju said. Ichigo then turned to the man and kicked him for his stupidity. How long are you going to sit there choking on your own spell? Ichigo asked. Growl. You know you have a lot of balls kicking the guy that just saved your life, Ganju said as he jumped to his feet and turned towards Ichigo. The hell I do. I only said we were saved, you got that, Ichigo said. Suddenly, Ichigo felt 2 large spiritual signature coming from behind him. Yahoo! What luck! A man said, causing Ichigo and Ganju to turn towards where the voice was coming from. There, standing on the roof of a building, were 2 Soul Reapers. The 2 jumped down from the roof and addressed the 2 Ryoka. Can you believe this? First we skip out on our boring guard duty and then these 2 come falling into our hands. The first one said. This Reaper was an average-sized man, with his most noticeable feature being his shining bald head. The second Soul Reaper wore an orange piece of clothing sits on top of his uniform around the neck, which covers most of his chest that would otherwise be exposed by his uniform. This is connected to an orange sleeve on his right arm under the much looser fitting sleeve of the uniform. He has colorful feathers on his right eyelashes and eyebrow. He has shiny skin, purple eyes, and jaw-length black hair, which, in conjunction with the feathers, gives him a somewhat feminine appearance. Not moments later the man then began to sing and dance around about how lucky he was to find an opponent. You on the other hand aren't so lucky, the man said while pointing his zanpakuto at Ichigo. Oh yeah, Ichigo said as the four face off with Naruto. Let's see, where should I go now? Naruto said as a voice spoke up behind him. I found you, Ryoka, a man with a tattoo face said, hold his zanpakuto in his hand, while Naruto just stood there with a grin on his face. You're the 7th Shinigami to find Lieutenant San. The first 3 I escaped from, but the last 3 had a very bad day seeing as how I blow them up. Naruto said, turning around with a fox-like grin while putting his hand in Tsukihime, knowing that he was going to have to fight the man in front of him, who was shocked and wide-eyed at hearing that the Ryoka escaped from 6 Shinigami while blowing up the last 3 that he had encountered. Seeing a small opening, Naruto flashed in front of the man, threw a punch at his face, sending him flying into a wall. That impossible, how can a simple Ryoka do something like that? The man thought, not even knowing that Naruto was right in front of him, until his was sent flying back into a wall by a sucker punch to the face from Naruto. Cough, cough, that was a dirty move, he said between breaths. Get used to it, Lieutenant San. Life is not fair to anyone. When one sees an opening, one will take it and use it to their advantage, just like I did. Naruto said with a straight face. He took every chance he could find in a fight that would give him the advantage. Besides, you do not stand a chance against me, Hisagi-san. Naruto said, shocking Hisagi once again that this man knew his name. How do you know my name? Hisagi asked, holding his blade in front of him again. This isn't my first visit to the Seraite. I have been here several times before, Hisagi-san, but you can blame all this on Central 46 and their so-called ways of justice. If it wasn't for that reason, then I would have no problem with the Seraite. Naruto said to the man. Central 46 is not to blame. Their evidence is always absolute. Hisagi said, glaring at Naruto in a low tone that made Naruto shake his head. Absolute, you say? I call bullshit. Their evidence is not absolute, it's crap. They have no say in how the Seraite works, only the head captain does. Those old don't know shit about anything, and they certainly don't have the right to say who get executed. Naruto hissed as his hollow mask started to form on his face. I think you know what I'm talking about, Hisagi. Naruto said as his hollow mask completely covered his face. Rukia Kuchiki. The hollow feed, Naruto said with a hiss. The evidence found against her was absolute, hence why she is to be killed. She gave her powers to a human. That is grave crime against the Seraite. The same goes for that traitor of a Shinigami. Hisagi said, only to stop as he was punched in the face again. Never, and I mean never, speak ill about my sister again, whelp. Naruto growled as Hisagi climbed out of the wall that he was sent into and ran at Naruto. Then again, it's not the lieutenant to blame, but the captain that the lieutenant serves under that is to blame. Naruto said, raising his blade up to stop Hisagi's blade, before using his free hand to grab Hisagi and throw him over his shoulder. Captain Tucson is a good man. Hisagi growled. One remark about your captain and you lose control of your emotions for a lieutenant, that's not good. Then again, it's to expected from those who turn on their friends when told to. Naruto said, turning around to look at Hisagi. Reap, Kazushini, Hisagi declared, activating his Zanpakuto, which quickly formed a pair of Kusarigami. I won't listen to your babble anymore. I will not let insult Captain Tucson any more than you have, Ryoka. He flung his chain blade out that spinning like a buzz saw toward Naruto, who calmly held up his right hand. Not bad, but not good enough, Naruto said as he stopped the blade with his bare hands. What? Hisagi said as his Zanpakuto, which could kill hollows easily with its speed and sharpness, was stopped bare-handed. How pathetic for someone with a Zanpakuto. You don't seem to listen to him too often, do you? Naruto said before grabbing the chain and yanking it very strongly and pulling the shocked Hisagi forward. Have managed to shake off the shock just in time. Hisagi used Shunpo to avoid the kick Naruto had aimed for his face. What do you mean? I have Shikai, so I do communicate with my Zanpakuto, that should be obvious. Yes, but I can tell that he fear him. Despite what it can be used for, you fear the strength that your Zanpakuto can give you. That is why you are pathetic, Hisagi. Why fear something that wishes to help you? Naruto said as he rushed forward and dodged the blades swung at him. I fear him because it is wise to fear him. Anyone who cannot fear the blade they use have not right to wield one at all. Captain Tucson taught me those words and I will live by those words. So tell me, do you fear your blade or that strength? The only response he got from Naruto was him appearing right behind him. Fear? Why should I fear her? She is me and I am her. We are one, fighting for the same goal every day. A goal to protect what is precious to us. That is why she gives me strength to fight. But then serving under a man that is blind to world around him will only serve to make you blind to your weakness. He said, getting a cry from Hisagi as punched the man harder than usual. Captain Tucson is a good man. Hisagi wheezed from the pain and cried again when he felt another punch. Shame you believe that. Please know this brings me no joy. Naruto said as his hollow mask started to fall apart. Hado 31. Shakaho. The red force blast narrowly missed Naruto's head as he backed away. I need to finish this fast. Naruto thought, not wanting to draw too much attention, not until it was time. Spread your wings. What Hisagi saw made his eyes go wide as he saw Naruto's Shikai, and for once he saw someone who could truly wield his sword even without fearing it, for he had no need to. A second later it all went dark as he felt something cut him twice but also knew he'd been caught by someone. Only one thought went through his head, was I wrong to fight him? I'll take him to Squad 4. Naruto thought as he flashed out of there before any Shinigami showed up. With Orihime and Uryu. Ishida-kun, did you feel that? Orihime asked Uryu after he had just taken down a Shinigami that had tried attacking her. She was thankful Naruto's had helped train her, as her barrier had been useful in defending her and Uryu from a sneak attack. Yes, it's Naruto-san. Uryu said with a tilt of his glasses. He must have been in a battle, but it only took as long as ours, it seems. He's hiding his Reiatsu now and I can't track it. Do think he's okay? Orihime asked. I'm sure he's fine, Inoue-san. Uryu said. While unknown to them, Chad was not too far away, handling his own problems with much ease. Ichigo and Akaku's fight. Hyaa. Akaku exclaimed as he lunged at Ichigo, attempting to cleave her in half. Ichigo sidestepped the attack. She dodged it. Akaku thought as Ichigo jumped away from the man to create some distance between them. Hraa. Ichigo growled out as she rushed Akaku. Hey, she moves well. Akaku thought as a grin spread across his face. Ichigo swung her Zangetsu at Akaku's head. Akaku blocked Ichigo's sword with his sheath, much to the substitute Reaper's surprise. Akaku then swung his Zanpakuto with his other hand. Thinking on her feet, Ichigo used Akaku's sheath as a springboard to jump over him and onto the roof. Ichigo then jumped off the roof and swung her Zangetsu at Akaku, who jumped back. Ichigo then tried to bisect him at the waist, but Akaku dodged by jumping over her soul cutter. Ichigo then tried again, but Akaku blocked Zangetsu with his sword and sheath. Akaku then pushed Ichigo back and started stabbing at her with both his sword and sheath. Ichigo manages to dodge each stab and flipped over him, as they both swung their swords at each other's heads. Blood splatter. Blood hitting the ground. At least, tell me your name. Akaku said as blood flowed from a cut upon his eye created. Blood splattering on the ground. It's Ichigo Kurasaki. Ichigo introduced herself as blood also flowed from a cut above her eye created by Akaku's sword. Ah, Ichigo, that's a good name. Akaku said, complimenting Ichigo. Thanks, Goose. Ichigo said. I'm third seat of the strongest squad in the Seraite Squad 11, Akaku Madarame. Akaku said as he got into his Zanjutsu fighting stance. Well, Ichi, what say we be friends? Akaku said with a huge grin on his face. Hey, ain't gonna happen, Ichigo said, mirroring the man's grin. Hey, well, that's too bad. Akaku said before slamming the end of his sword handle against the end of his sheath. Extend Huzukimaru. Akaku proclaimed as his weapon and sheath became a Kikuchi Yari. Squad 4 Barracks. Captain Unohana Retsu had been back in her office at her barracks for not long now after receiving her orders from the captain commander. Right now she was drinking a nice cup of tea, filling and finishing all of her paperwork so that it wouldn't be a bother later. After a few minutes though, she felt a powerful Reiatsu signature in the air that was there for a moment before it vanished. But her years of experience that never showed on her face told her to look more carefully. When she did, she found that the signature was with Lieutenant Hisagi, who, if she was right, was unconscious. She also discovered another signature was doing a very good job of hiding itself, as the concentration necessary made her ignore her lieutenant when she offered her a refill. Azane herself was a little confused to why her captain was ignoring her. Usually she's make a small joke at her expense with that damned smile. Instead she just stared out the window as if looking for something. Although as she moved to water the plants, her captain moved from her seat and out of the room, not even offering a word, so she followed her strategy into one of the free patient rooms. Once in, her eyes widened as she saw a blond man wearing a white hakama and a ragged with jacket placing Lieutenant Hisagi onto a bed and placed a light blue glowing hand over the wound for some reason. "Excuse me," Retsu said, catching the blond man's attention. "But who might you be, and why are you putting an injured Lieutenant Hisagi in one of my beds?" she asked with her overly sweet smile. "Why wouldn't I? He might have died if I just left him there after our little conflict," Naruto said, turning to look at the woman with a smile of his own. "My name is Naruto Namikaze," Naruto said with a small bow before turning back to Hisagi. "You wouldn't happen to be one of those intruders, would you, Namikaze-san?" Retsu turned up her aura, trying to unnerve the boy in front of her, but the only response was Azane taking a step toward the door, not just because of her captain but also because of the boy, who had an even scarier aura than her captain. "I might also." "Could you not do that? Healing requires a calm environment," Naruto said as he sealed the wounds, which he hadn't made too deep, just enough to cause a quick knockout. He had already healed the very broken bones that he gave the man on the way to Squad 4. Retsu was surprised that he wasn't even affected by her smile, but when he turned to her after he finished healing, she could feel a strong aura around him and a strange apparition behind him. "Now I am indeed an intruder. I am only here since your so-called leader is blind to the truth around him, seeing as he'll punish someone for no good reason." While speaking to her, the apparition behind him took on the form of a fox's head with glowing red eyes and a grin that looked as though it was looking at its next meal. "Eep," Azane squeaked as she saw the giant fox head and that smile on the male, and quickly hid herself behind her captain. In all her years she never thought she'd see someone with a smile to match her captain's. "Interesting, a fighter who seems to have some knowledge of healing, and I wonder how he does that," Retsu thought to herself as she turned to her lieutenant. "Azane, could you go and fetch our guest some tea and snacks? I feel I need to chat with him." "But Captain, you know Hana," Azane tried to remind her captain of the possible threat, but was silenced by her captain's smile that was combined with Naruto's, who was next to Retsu the fox, now only staring at the silver-haired lieutenant with hunger. "Azane, please go get what I asked," Retsu said, her voice straining just ever so slightly. "We don't want to be rude, do we?" "Thank you very much, Retsu-san. It seems the kindness that I heard about you from my sister is very true, it seems. Although seeing your beauty in person is a lot better than hearing about it from my sister." Retsu let out a giggle as she saw Azane rush out the room and hear the words of the mysterious man. Era, you flatter me so. Now if you would be so kind as to follow me to my office so we can chat more openly," Retsu said, leading Naruto away. Back with Ichigo and Akaku. Akaku stared at the broken end of his Huzukimaru. Akaku was extremely shocked that Ichigo had just broke a piece of his shikai. Ever since Akaku released his Zanpakuto, he had the upper hand in the fight. However, it seemed that the longer the fight dragged on, the more Ichigo began to adapt to fighting him. "What's the matter, Akaku? You look like you've just seen a ghost," Ichigo said as he got Akaku's attention. "I hope you haven't lost the will to fight all of a sudden, but if you don't attack I will," Ichigo proclaims, shocking Akaku even more. Ichigo then jumps high into the air and raises Zangetsu above his head. "I'll tell you one last time, Akaku," Ichigo said as Akaku reconnected his Zanpakuto. "The one who won't be able to hold their sword is you," Ichigo proclaimed as she slashed Huzukimaru in two. Akaku stared at his Huzukimaru with a horrified look on his face, not being able to comprehend what just happened. Then without warning, a huge gash appeared on his chest and blood erupted from the wound. This can't be. Akaku as the stared at Ichigo, how had his sword at the ready. Akaku then threw the useless part of his shikai to the side and got ready to clash with Ichigo again. "Hey, I guess you think that this is over, but you're dead wrong," Akaku proclaimed. "This battle will never end, as long as I can hold my sword." Akaku said as he began to swirl his sword over his head. "'Cause the only way I'm putting down Uzukimaru is if you cut off my arm," Akaku declared as Ichigo glared at him. "Don't make me do this," Ichigo said, wanting this one-sided fight to end so that he could go look for Ganju and the others. "What, you don't have the stomach for it?" Akaku asked, trying to bait Ichigo into attacking. "Why don't you face the fact that this fight is over? You can't win and you know it," Ichigo said. "Not a chance. This battle isn't over yet, and it's not going to be until one of us is dead," Akaku declares before charging at Ichigo, while swinging his Zanpakuto above his head. As Ichigo watched Akaku run towards him, she saw an image of Kazuki Urahara replace Akaku for just a split second, and Ichigo attacked Akaku. "You're too slow," Ichigo proclaimed as she shattered the last part of Uzukimaru into pieces and gave Akaku a second gash, with this new one being on his arms. "Well, you are strong, I'll give you that," Akaku said as he dropped down to one knee. "Grunt. I guess I'm unlucky after all," Akaku mumbled to himself before falling unconscious. "This wasn't a lucky day for either of us, if you ask me," Ichigo said. An hour later, Akaku finally regained consciousness, to find that most of his injuries had been treated. This confused Akaku since he had thought that he was going to die. "Ah, I see that you are finally awake," Ichigo called out to the third seat. "Ichigo, what are you doing? Why are you still here?" Akaku asked. "Well, I learned something, that Zanpakuto revert back to their sealed state just as soon as its owner falls unconscious," Ichigo said as Akaku finally noticed that Ichigo held his Zanpakuto. "My Uzukimaru, hey, give it back to me," Akaku demanded, although it came off less threatening when you realized that he could barely move. "Oh, relax, would ya? I'm not going to take it from you. I only used its ointment to heal both our wounds, although there is none left," Ichigo informed the third seat. Akaku's eyes widened at this information and looked down at his chest to see that Ichigo was telling the truth. "I have to admit that was some pretty amazing ointment you have," Ichigo said. "Bastard, you had no right to do that," Akaku said. "Are you kidding? Sure, it's all gone now, but it did save your life," Ichigo said. "That isn't exactly the point," Akaku exclaimed, confusing Ichigo. "Now you've denied me the glory of dying in battle, after being so thoroughly defeated. How I can possibly live on now, in this humiliation?" Akaku said to Ichigo. Ichigo stayed silent as Akaku ranted, letting the man vent his frustrations. "Damn it, Ichigo, if I could get up right now I would beat you to a bloody pulp," Akaku declared. "What an idiot. Obviously I shouldn't have even bothered saving your life in the first place. However, whether or not you appreciate my act of kindness doesn't really matter to me," Ichigo said as she stood up and glared down at her beaten opponent. "I just need some answers from you," Ichigo said with a look on her face that said, "You better tell me what I want to know or else." "Tisk. I knew there was something more to this. I am unlucky," Akaku mused to himself as Ichigo walked over to where he was lying. "So what is it that you want from me? Is it my birthday?" Akaku asked with a sarcastic edge in his voice. "I want Rukia Kuchiki. Where is she? Why do you want that capital offender?" Akaku asked back, curious where this was going. "I'm here to save her," was Ichigo's simple reply, making Akaku blanch. "You're here on a rescue mission," he said, seeing the orange-haired teen nod. "Just how many of you are there then?" "At least 9 or 10, right?" "No. If only he knew. Actually 5 humans, 1 animal and 1 Shinigami. Naruko," Ichigo told him, making Akaku close his eyes. "Hee ha 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 ha. 5 humans and a fallen Shinigami on a suicide rescue mission. If that's funny, just how stupid are yo erg? Oh crap, I open up my wound from laughing so hard." Truth be told, it had only opened a little, but he calmed down enough to talk seriously to Ichigo and explain where he had to go. However, as Ichigo made to leave, Akaku had one more question. "Oi Ichigo, who is the strongest in your group? Is it Naruko?" "That's kinda hard to answer. But it's not Naruko, I know that for sure, since she's the second strongest. No, the strongest would have to be her brother," Ichigo said, tilting her head in thought. "Her brother? Yeah, with me being the third strongest," Ichigo gave his answer. "I see. If your 3 are as strong as you say, then you better keep a lookout for my captain. He can't bear to fight weak opponents, so if you do fight and manage to survive, I hope we can meet again," Akaku said before closing his eyes to rest, beware the one named Kenpachi Zaraki, Squad 11 captain. I will. Now I need to find Ganju. Ichigo set off running to try and find his companion. Back with Naruto and Unohana. You intrigue me, Namikaze-san, for someone that can fight a lieutenant so easily and win but also be a practiced healer. Although everyone in the Seraite will be looking for you, I'm sure. Retsu said with a small giggle as she sat with Naruto at her desk. Must likely seeing as how the others arrived, and it's a pain to seeing as they won't be as rational or kind as you, Retsu-san. He replied with a sigh while drinking his tea, while looking over to see the lieutenant of Squad 4 hiding by the door, but noticed that she was keeping her eyes on him. Well, as much as I would like to stay here in the company of such a beautiful captain, sadly I cannot, or else old face might start popping up. He said before putting his cup down and stood up to leave, but not before turning back to Retsu and saying one last thing. Oh, and a word of advice, Retsu-san, beware of man with 4 eyes, he will betray again just like he did his captain over 100 years ago. With that said, Naruto then left the room via Shunpo while leaving Retsu to her thoughts. However, before she could fully go over them, a member of her squad came in. Captain Unohana, 3rd seat of Squad 11 Madarame Akaku has been brought in. He's been defeated by one of the Ryoka, as well as 3rd seat of Squad 6 Kiba Inuzuka, Squad 7 3rd seat Hinata Hyuga, and Squad 8 3rd seat Shino Aburame. He shouted loudly, which earned him a smile that eerily had an aura to it. The new member of the squad saw the smile on his captain's face as well as what looked to be a Hania mask behind her. Do not shout in my office, Azane, don't hide behind the door like that, it's very rude. Now then, come you two, we have work to do, she said walking past the two. The new squad member nodded his head while sweating up a storm from just having seen something that could have been the most scariest thing in his life. Mayuri and Nemu, you men search over there. Mayuri commanded his squad. If you find the Ryoka, take them alive, they might make interesting research specimens. Mayuri said. Also don't allow any of the other squads capture them first. Yes, Captain. The members of the 12th squad said before they went in search of the Ryoka. Hey, still, since they are only human beings, I don't really expect any good specimens. Mayuri said as he thought about what Aizen had said about a particular person the Ryoka might know of. If I remember correctly, Captain Kukiki did mention something about a person that he had met, however the name of that person escapes me. As Mayuri was deep in thought, a hell butterfly appeared and landed on Nemu's hand. It then relayed to her a message. A hell butterfly, Mayuri said as he snapped back to reality. So tell me the message, Nemu. Mayuri commanded. Sir, apparently Akaku Madarame of Squad 11 has recently encountered and lost against a Ryoka. The melancholy girl informed her captain. What? How can you stand there and tell me that Squad 11 already has their hands on a Ryoka? Mayuri exclaimed in shock. No, apparently Akaku Madarame was soundly defeated by the Ryoka and has been taken to the Squad 4 treatment room 1 for medical attention. Nemu said. Unfortunately, the Ryoka escaped and her current whereabouts remain unknown. Nemu informed Mayuri. An intruder defeated Akaku. Chuckle, where is that fool Zaraki? Mayuri asked Nemu. He is still searching for the Ryoka as we speak. Nemu informed Mayuri. Then it's best that he doesn't find out about yet. Mayuri said. Tell me, sir, where are you going? Nemu asked her creator. To see Akaku. Have you not heard a word I said? Come along, my dull-witted girl. With Yoruichi. Meanwhile, Yoruichi had been jumping from rooftop to rooftop making her way to her secret training grounds, before she suddenly stopped and looked in a direction that a large amount of Reiatsu. That Kenpachi Zaraki's spiritual pressure. Ichigo, please be careful, Yoruichi said. So Zaraki's already on the move, huh? A voice called out to her. The man sure doesn't waste time, does he, Yoruichi? The voice continued before Naruto appeared in front of her. Naruto, Yoruichi said out loud as Naruto appeared right in front of her. And where have you been? Yoruichi asked. Taking care of a few things before I bring them in. Naruto said in a, you'll see soon, voice. And who's them? Yoruichi asked. You're gonna have to wait and see. Naruto said in a sing-song voice. So where were you heading? He asked as Yoruichi just shook her head before taking off again with Naruto following her. Well, I was heading to my secret training ground, but seeing as you're here I have a little job for you, Naruto. And what does this job involve? Naruto asked, seeing a small smirk on Yoruichi's face. I want you to head to Squad 2 and give my little bee a message. She said as a similar smirk appeared on Naruto's face. Sounds fun. I'm in. Naruto said as Yoruichi jumped onto his shoulder and told him the message. Alright, got it. With that said, Yoruichi jumped off his shoulder and started heading towards her training grounds, while Naruto took off towards Squad 2 in order to deliver the message while also getting a chance to probably take down a fat-ass lieutenant. Ganju, having just finished his fight with a freak from Squad 11 by the name of Yumashika Yasugawa, he thought he could get at least a little breather, but it seemed fate did agree with him, which is why we now find Ganju Shiba running for his life from a mob of Shinigami. What the hell? No matter where we go, and I'm the one that always ends up getting chased. Ganju exclaims as he runs away from members of the 11th squad. Hey, get back here, you sideburn punk. You're going to get a beating. For being so ugly. The three members that were at the front of the mob of pursuers. Who are you calling ugly? The Soul Reaper with the funky eyelashes is a real looker, but that's not my fault, and you guys are no fashion models yourselves. You're going to pay for that crack, you ugly punk. We're going to use your head as a doorknocker. A really ugly doorknocker, the Soul Reapers proclaimed. Suddenly, Ichigo showed up and seemed to be headed in the same direction that he was. Ichigo, you're just in time, I could really use some backup. Upon seeing Ganju, Ichigo called out to him while waving her arm in the air like an idiot. Hey Ganju, Ichigo exclaimed as she ran towards him, as another mob of Shinigami appeared to be chasing after her too. You got a mob chasing you too? Fight them there, Ichigo. I've got enough problems as it is, and quit waving at me, you idiot, you are only making them madder. Ganju exclaimed, before he and Ichigo passed each other, while knocking a few of the Reapers back in the process. Ganju duck, Ichigo shouts as she swings Zangetsu around, taking out some of the Soul Reapers. With a lost Kenpachi, groan, I've been running forever, Yakiru, where the hell are you exactly leading me? Kenpachi asked as a little girl with pink hair made herself known from the man's back. Don't worry Ken-chan, this is the way, I think, the pink-haired girl known as Yakiru said, which only aggravated Kenpachi. Did you just say you think? Kenpachi asked as he continued to run the wrong. Don't be so grouchy, turn right up here, Yakiru said to him while pointing. You better be right this time, Yakiru. An annoyed Kenpachi says, oh yeah, he was mad all the running around that he's been doing, and not once have they even run into a single Ryoka. Ken-chan, all you do is complain. If you don't like my directions, then you can forget, you can go wherever you want. The little lieutenant said. Fine, I'll turn right, Zaraki said as he continued to run, never realizing that he was going the wrong way. Back with Ichigo and Ganju. You damn crazy, what the hell are doing swinging that oversized blade so close to my head, you could have killed me. Ganju exclaims as tears flowed from his eyes at the thought of almost being killed. Shut the hell up, you idiot, I told you to duck, didn't I? Ichigo exclaims back, summing warning that was, you were supposed to say that before you swing your blade, not while you're swinging it. Ganju shouted. Well, if your reflexes weren't as slow as a banana slug, then it wouldn't be a problem now, would it? Ichigo said. They continued to argue, not even care about the Shinigami. While they were busy arguing, a young-looking Shinigami stumbled through the crowd of Squad 11 members. Ow, that didn't go exactly as I planned. The Bai said. Huh, what's with this one? He seems like a klutz. Ichigo said to Ganju, who just looked at the boy before a smirk appeared on his face. Hey Ichigo, I think I know how we can get out of here. Ganju told her as a smirk appeared on her face as well. Now that's funny because I was thinking the same thing. Ichigo said as the boy sat up and looked at the two with a meek look on his face. So you guys are trying to find a way out of here, but why would you want to get away from here? The boy asked. Unless of course you two are the Ryoka that everyone is so worried about. The boy said as he finally put two and two together. Before he knew it, both Ichigo and Ganju had grabbed him while Ichigo held her Zangetsu at his neck. Now back off and let us leave, or else your little buddy here will be missing some pieces. Ganju and Ichigo said as the boy started to cry. Ah, but I faint at the sight of my own blood. The boy exclaimed with tears flowing from his eyes. Blank and confused stares. Okay, that's not the reaction that I was hoping for. Ganju said with a shocked look on his face. Hey, maybe those idiot didn't understand, try it again, Ganju. Ichigo said. Now listen here, you riffraff, move aside and let us through. Ganju said as Ichigo picked up. Or else my blade is going to take the life of your little friend here. Ichigo said as a droplet of sweat ran down the back of his head. Hey, at least act like you're scared of us or something. Ichigo said to the boy in a way that said she wasn't going to hurt him. Yes please, I think they mean it. The boy said nervously, knowing that this was likely not going to work. Very strange. What the hell are you idiots doing? Two Squad 11 members said, which confused the hell out of both Ichigo and Ganju. What the hell does it look like? We took a hostage. Ichigo said, not really understanding why they didn't seem to care at all for the boy. I see, and does he even look like one of use to you? A Reaper asked, causing both Ichigo and Ganju to look at the boy. Hey, who are you? Ichigo asked the boy. While we are all on the same side, I however am a member of Squad 4, while all of them are from Squad 11. The boy said, which just further confused Ichigo. What the hell's the difference? A squad's a squad, right? Ichigo asked. I guess loser really are from the outside. I shouldn't even bother explaining any of it to you, but that would just be too much of an insult to allow you guy to lump us together with that loser, so listen up, girly. One of the Reapers said. There are 13 guard squads here in the Seraite. In order to protect it, we of Squad 11 are led by the strongest captain among those 13 squads, as such that make us the strongest unit and the first one to be end battle. The Reaper explained, causing his brethren to shout. You know, I've just noticed that these guys all have some weird hair except for you. What squad are you from again? Ganju asked as it finally dawned on him. I'm from Squad 4, the boy said with pride. Is that a good one? Ichigo asked the boy. Of course, Squad 4 is a great squad to be in. The boy said, causing the member of Squad 11 to grunt in disgust. Don't make me laugh, you spineless wimp. One of the Squad 11 goon members said, getting Ichigo, Ganju and the boy attention. Those fools are just a service squad that only provides first aid for minor injuries. All those losers that can't wield a sword are assigned there. One of the goon explained. Yeah, that's right, the rest of us can't stand those bastards. So don't you dare confuse us with them, because when it comes to Squad 4, we hate them. So go ahead and kill the little shit, it's no skin off her bones. Squad 4, he, so you're going to refuse to cooperate, huh? Well, we'll see just how long that lasts. Akaku matter aim. Mayuri Kuratsuchi said as he blew a hole in the wall. Squad 12 captain. A young nurse called out as she came towards the door to Akaku's hospital room. I'm sorry, but I must protest to what you are doing, as interrogation of patients is strictly forbid. The nurse was however cut off when Mayuri used the force of his spirit pressure to break the wall she was standing by. Mind your own business, you stupid wench. Mayuri exclaims in anger. Master Mayuri, Nemu called out, trying to warn him about where they currently were. You shut your mouth to Nemu, or maybe you would like to be pulled to pieces again. Mayuri said, causing Nemu's melancholy expression to darken into greater sadness. No sir, please forgive me master. Nemu said, submitting to her creator. While Akaku watched in silence, he felt pity for the young girl, who was bound to Mayuri. It's not that I won't talk. Akaku said, catching Mayuri's attention. It's just that I don't know anything. I don't know who the Ryoka are or what they're planning to do. So what you're telling me is that even though you managed to fight against these mysterious invaders, you were defeated in battle and just retreated like a dog without learning a single shred of information? Mayuri asked in disbelief. I'm afraid so, Captain Kuratsuchi. Akaku said, nonchalance about the whole thing, which seemed to be getting to Mayuri. It may seem strange to you, but sometimes battle is like that. I've not seen this enemy's face or heard his voice, so I'm afraid that I have no information for you. Akaku said as Mayuri seemed to be losing his patience. You lie, Mayuri proclaimed as his spiritual energy started to rise. This however didn't seem to bother Akaku in the slightest. If anything at all, Akaku would jump at the chance to kill Squad 12's captain. Now you shall receive punishment for your failures. Mayuri proclaims as he raised his hand to strike Akaku, only for Kenpachi to stop him. Well now ain't this interesting. Since when are you entitled to discipline members of other squads that are not your own, Mayuri Kuratsuchi? Zaraki asked as Mayuri struggled to break the 11th captain's grip. Damn you, Zaraki. Mayuri sneered at him before breaking free from his grip and turning to walk out the room while nursing his wrist. Well, now since his captain is here, there is no reason for this interrogation. Good luck getting anything out of him, Zaraki. The shady captain said. Come on, you useless doll, don't just stand there, let's go. Mayuri shouted as he left the room with Nemu following after him. Foo. Causing trouble in my barrack again, Mayuri. Came the sweat yet sinister voice of Unohana, making Mayuri and Nemu stop in their tracks. I've come to inform you that I don't above of interrogation and or anything harmful to happen to anyone under Squad 4 care. Yakiru Retsu, Unohana said as beads of sweat started running down Mayuri's face and the back of his neck. Slowly Mayuri turned towards the captain of Squad 4 and the look on her face would haunt him for the next 100 years. Do I make myself clear, Captain Mayuri Kuratsuchi? Unknown to anyone in the room, there was a clone of Naruto overlooking everything that had just happened. Kukuku. Just wait, Mayuri Kuratsuchi, once all this is over the boss is going to kill you just like that fool Aizen. The clone thought with an evil grin before leaving via Shunpo. I have nothing against Captain Kuratsuchi personally, I just don't like how he treats Nemu. Lieutenant meeting. Thank you all for coming, here is the latest situation report. The third seat of the 4th Division Yasushika Aimura said to the lieutenants of the Gote 13. Akaku Madarame and Yumashika Yasugawa, both 11th Division members, have been pulled from the front lines effective immediately, and Squad 9's Lieutenant Shuhei Hisagi. It is reported that the first have sustained seriously injuries while Shuhei is recovering from a very bad beating. As well, the following third seats of Squads 6, 7, and 8. Kiba Inuzuka, Hinata Hyuga, and Shino Aburame have been taken of the front lines due to being put in a coma from what looks like an explosion of some sorts. What? That's impossible, the lieutenant of the 3rd Division Izuru Kira said. But how is that even possible? Momo Hinamori, the lieutenant of the 5th Division, asked. So far 2 of the Ryoka have been identified, and those very 2 have been known to have taken a member of the 4th Division hostage. Aimura said, getting everyone's attention. Intelligence indicates that the group is heading this way, however since a short time ago we have been unable to sense their spiritual pressure, so their whereabouts are unknown. Aimura informed the lieutenants. This information didn't sit well with Renji, as he remembered Ichigo and Naruto's overwhelming spiritual pressure back when he was sent to get Rukia. Obviously our intelligence leaves something to be desired. Rangaku Matsumoto, the lieutenant of the 10th Division, said. You know, now that I think about it, it has been a while since our 4th seat has reported back in. The 7th Division Lieutenant Tetsuzeman Iba said to the others. We better send someone to check on the West 20 region. Who knows, he may have been defeated too. Tetsuzeman said, although he didn't seem all that concerned. Are you serious? Isn't the 4th seat of your division Jirobo the Wind Scythe? Rangaku asked. That's right, Tetsuzeman said. First Jidanbu and now his brother, can they have both been defeated? Rangaku asked. Just what the hell is going on here? Izuru asked. As they continued to converse amongst each other, no one other than Momo noticed that Renji has left, most likely in pursuit of the Ryoka. Renji, Momo thought in concern for her friend. A couple of hours later with Naruto. Pathetic fat slob, Naruto said, striking down the lieutenant of Squad 2 while cutting off his arm in the process. So you took down the fat ass. A voice said from behind him as a blade was pressed to his neck, which caused a smirk to appear on his face. I should be thanking you, as I have no clue how that fat ass became my lieutenant in the first place. The stern voice said, not letting up on the grip. It's money, my little bee, that's how he became a lieutenant. Naruto said, using a nickname that Yoruichi said she gave to the very girl that was holding a blade to his neck. What did you call me? The girl growled. Ah. What's wrong, little bee, don't you like the name? Naruto said, making the woman even madder than before. A small smile appeared before flashing out of the woman's grip and right behind her, with both of his zanpakutos press up against her neck with his lips right neck to her ear. Now my little bee, don't get mad. Naruto whispered into her ear. I only came to deliver you a message, but your fat slob of a lieutenant decided to be all high and mighty that I just had to cut him down, and the only way for that to work was to take his right arm away from him. Naruto said. The kitty will return hoping for a bee to forgive. Naruto said before vanishing. Yoruichi. The girl hissed, knowing what the message meant. Back with Kasumi and Naruko. Meanwhile, as Naruto was causing chaos throughout the Seraite, Kasumi was busy doing what her mate told her to do, which was to teach her the kitsune arts. Boom. Not bad, Blondie, Kasumi said with a small grin as the smoke cleared to show Naruko standing there with her clothing torn in certain areas, which showed off the red lace thong that she was wearing, as well the fact that she wasn't even wearing a bra, so if you looked closely you could see a bit of her right as well as the pinkness of her. We're done for now. Go and get cleaned up and then get something to eat. We'll start back up in 2 hours. Kasumi said, turning around to walk away, only lean her head to the side to miss the beam of energy that was going to hit her. Turning back, she noticed that Naruko was heavily panting while smoke was coming from her right index finger. I'm panting. Not done panting yet, Naruko said, panting heavily as she pointed at Kasumi with a smoking finger before she fell onto the floor, passing out for the lack of energy need to stay awake. At this time, a voice in Kasumi's head decided to make itself known. You have to hand it her, Kasumi. She shows promise, just like your mate. A feral-sounding voice said from inside her head. It's not promise, Ka-san, it's pure stubbornness, just like Kushina-chan and Lady Mito. Kasumi said to the voice of her mother that was echoing inside her head. Beside, if it wasn't for the fact that Naru-kun told me she was his little sister, I would thought she was Kushina or Mito with blonde hair instead of red. Kasumi thought. Be that as it may, she still shows promise, don't you think, my dearest daughter? The voice said again, only this time instead of just hearing the voice through the blackness of her mindscape, you could actually see what was talking to her. If you weren't from the elemental nations, or if you didn't know what Kasumi was, then you would probably freak at seeing a 40-foot-tall blood-red fox with 9 tails flowing behind her and bloodthirsty grin on her muzzle. This was Kasumi's mother and Zanpakuto spirit Yusaka, the head of the Kitsune clan. Will be explained later. Even if she show promise mother, it would take her at least 100 years just to learn all of Kitsune art. Kasumi said, look a passed out Naruko on the floor. Now Kasumi-chan, if she truly is an Uzumaki, then learning the Kitsune art should be as easy as learn the sealing arts, seeing as it's in her blood. Yusaka said, getting a raised eyebrow from her daughter. What you mean by, it's in her blood, Ka-san? Kasumi asked her mother while still looking at Naruko. Sorry sweetheart, but that's for you to figure out, Yusaka said before she cut of the connection. For the love, Kami-sama, Kasumi shouted as she walked over to Naruko and swung her over her shoulder like a bag of potatoes. What the does Ka-san mean by it's in her blood? She can't be a kitsune, I know that for a fact, seeing as she does smell like one, but she does smell like Shina-chan and that blasted Namikaze. Kasumi thought to herself as she walked out of the training room and down the hall to one of spare rooms. Chapter end. Well, there's chapter 9. Sorry it took so long, I had the whole chapter type 1, just need to find a way to end it the way I did. I know some of you may have wanted a fight between Soifon and Naruto, but that won't happen until after they rescue Rukia. As I said, I don't hate Mayuri, I just can't stand if he treats Nemu. I know she a robot and all, but still that doesn't give him the right to treat her that way. As for the, it's in her blood, it seems that the Uzumaki clan has a little secret. You will be getting a double update this week, so chapter 10 will be posted on Sunday. While Kasumi was trying to figure out what her mother said, Ichigo was running through the sewers with Ganju, who she had ran into earlier, who was having the same probable as her, a group of Shinigami chasing him. In a stupid attempt to get out of the situation, Ichigo took a Shinigami hostage with the hopes of them backing down, but that was thrown out the window when it turned out that the Shinigami she took hostage was from Squad 4 while the other was Squad 11. How outright said they hated Squad 11, but thankful with a little help from Ganju and his sand spell they were able to leave while taking the Squad 4 member with them. Seeing as neither Ichigo or Ganju knew the sewers, the Squad 4 member, who said his name was Hanataro, led them through the sewers. He told them about the time he had spoken to her, while he was on cleaning duty at the barracks that she was being held in. He then told them about the execution order her brother had come to inform them about. In the end, this only seemed to strengthen Ichigo's resolve to save Rukia, and as they exited the sewers, they noticed that a thick fog had rolled in and blanketed the area. There, it's right up there, that white tower over there is where she's being held. Hanataro pointed out through the fog. We still have a long way to go, seeing as there was the closet sewer opening that we could find. Ganju said as they started to walk in the tower's direction. Just as the fog started to clear, Ichigo noticed someone was blocking their path. What's wrong, Ichigo? Ganju asked as he noticed that Ichigo was signaling them to stop. There seems to be someone by the stairs, Ichigo said as a familiar voice called out that only Ichigo and Hanataro recognized. It's been a while Ichigo, though I wonder do you still remember my face? Renji said as the fog completely cleared. You'll be gone and forgotten soon enough Renji Abarai, Ichigo said as Renji descended from the stairs. So you remembered not only my face, but also my name, you're full of surprises. Renji said. I can't believe it, that's the lieutenant of the 6th Division Renji Abarai. Hanataro said taking a step back in fear. Wait you mean that this guy is a lieutenant? Ganju said with shock as he looked from Hanataro to the 6th Division lieutenant. That explains why this guy's spiritual pressure feel like it on a whole other level than the guys from earlier. Ganju thought to himself as he started to sweat a little. Hey Ichigo you should think this through before rushing in. Ganju said as he looked over to Ichigo who had already unsheathed her Zanpakuto and started to run at Renji who did the same before rushing towards Ichigo. Why did I even bother saying anything to her? Ganju thought as he watched Ichigo and Renji charge at each other. Let me show you how much stronger I've gotten Renji Abarai, Ichigo shouted as she charged at Renji with all her strength with all intent on taking him out. It doesn't matter how strong you have gotten, because I'm going to kill the girl responsible for stealing Rukia's power, so for you this is the last thing that you will see. Renji shouted. Once you're dead Rukia will be able to regain her powers. Renji said as his Zabumaru clashed with Ichigo's Zangetsu. Why would even care if she get her powers back out not? You arrest her and then you sentence her to death just because she gave some Shinigami powers. That's bullshit, Ichigo proclaims before screaming out the last part as she used her strength to push Renji back before jumping out of the way to avoid getting hit by Renji's unsealed Zanpakuto. You seem to think that with the first fight we had back in the world of the living, that you know how strong I am. Renji said as he retracted Zabumaru from the hole in the ground that was created when Ichigo avoided it. Then let me tell you something you amateur. Renji started to say as he swung Zabumaru at Ichigo again only this time she wasn't able to dodge the hit as it came her sending her flying into one of the buildings. Whenever a lieutenant class Soul Reaper or high is sent to the world of the living, they have limiters placed on them so their power doesn't advisedly affect the living. This means that my power is 5 times what it was on that day, so no matter how confident you've become or how powerful you get, you will never be able to defeat me Ichigo Kurasaki. Renji says as he retracts Zabumaru from the building he slammed Ichigo into. I see, Ichigo say as she started to pull herself together. Then that mean that last attack of your, was the best that you could do. Ichigo said as she picked up Zangetsu and walked out of the hole in the building. That didn't have any effect on me at all, Ichigo states even though there was blood running down from a cut on her forehead. So I must thank you. If all I have to worry about is 11 more hits like that then I'm going to be just fine Renji. Ichigo tells Renji. Both Hanataro and Ganju were speechless as they watch the fight between Lieutenant Abarai and Ichigo. Renji's shocked expression quickly turned into a smirk as he processed what Ichigo had just said. I'm going to enjoy this, Renji said as he stood there facing Ichigo who had a similar smirk on her face. Before they could even make another more 2 huge waves of spiritual power washed of the Seraite freezing not just Ganju and Hanataro but Renji and Ichigo as well as it brought all 4 of them down to their knees gasping for air. This spiritual pressure it Captain Zaraki, but who's the other one? It's even higher than the head captain. That shouldn't be possible. Renji thought in shock at the amount of spiritual pressure he was feeling. Naruto-kun, so you're battling someone too? Ichigo thought as she looked over to the stairs that led to the tower that kept Rukia. And you seem to be close. Ichigo thought as she felt the spiritual pressure from the one that Naruto was facing drop at a very fast rate. Do you feel that Renji, even if you beat me you'll have to deal with my boyfriend? Ichigo said as she started to stand seeing as the pressure had finally faded allowing them to stand. You do remember him don't, the blonde hair man that faced your captain back in the world of the living? Ichigo said holding her Zangetsu above her head as her Reiatsu started to become visible and swirl around her. Renji's eye widened in shock at what he heard Ichigo say. That huge amount of Reiatsu came from that human, there's no way a human can have that much Reiatsu and not die from it. Renji thought in shock, before a large amount of Reiatsu coming from Ichigo. Naruto-kun told me not to use Zangetsu's true Shikai until it was time. Ichigo said to herself as she had her Zanpakuto above her head. Pierce the heavens, Ichigo shouted as the dust kicked up around her. Zanjetsu. When the dust cleared, Ichigo was kneeling on the ground with her hand on the hilt of her Zanpakuto, which was an oversized cleaver with no tsuba, or a proper hilt. It was about as tall as Ichigo herself. But unfortunately for you that not going to happen, because it will be me that walks away from this battle. Ichigo says. Being able to finally stand, Ganju looked over to the stairs for a brief second before looking over at Ichigo and Renji only to notice the blood run down from her forehead. Hey Ichigo, your head wound is. Ganju said as Hanataro took a step back. Don't worry, I'm going to be alright. Ichigo said, although Renji noticed that she seemed to be having a hard time standing. Renji grinned before he started to jog towards Ichigo. You talk big, but it seems that standing is the only thing you can do right now. Renji then jumped above Ichigo and swung Zabumaru down upon Ichigo. Ichigo managed to dodge by diving to the side, however Renji stayed on her and swung Zabumaru at her again, which Ichigo dodged by jumping to the side on a building. Is all because of you. If you didn't exist, if she had never met you, Rukia wouldn't be going through all of this. Renji proclaimed as he swung Zabumaru at the building Ichigo was on. Ichigo ran down the collapsing building before he rushed towards Renji. She slammed her Zanjetsu into Zabumaru, but that only resulted in both of them knocking each other back and into some buildings. Both Ichigo and Renji were bending over slightly, while panting. Panting. You stubborn fool. You really want to save her that much? Renji asked the substitute. You idiot. Not want. I will save her. Ichigo proclaimed, shocking Renji. Don't with me. You're the reason Rukia is going to die. Renji exclaimed as he started to cut through Ichigo's shoulder with Zabumaru. All because you stole her powers. Renji said as he thrust Zabumaru towards Ichigo. I didn't steal her powers, she gave them to so I could save my family. Ichigo said as she started to push Zabumaru back with Zanjetsu. Now I will return the favor by saving her. Ichigo proclaims as she knocks Zabumaru back and watched as it retracted back into a sword. The moment it was back in its sword form, Ichigo rushed Renji. Seeing this, Renji swung his Zabumaru at Ichigo, who had blocked it, and followed up by thrusting Zanjetsu at Renji, only for him to block it again. He then whipped Zabumaru at Ichigo, who started to radiate with spirit energy once again. Ichigo jumped into the air to dodge the first swing, then when Renji came in with the second wing, Ichigo spun out of its strike zone and dropped right before Renji, and cut the scouter off of Renji's forehead. Renji threw his head back to keep from getting it cut off and whipped Zabumaru at Ichigo again, this time aiming to decapitate him. Ichigo parried the attack and raised Zanjetsu above her head. Renji then tried one last time to swing Zabumaru at Ichigo, however once it came in contact of Zanjetsu it shattered from the force of the swing that Ichigo had used. Boom! Asterisk. Ah! Renji exclaims. With the explosion of spirit energy, Renji was sent flying from the impact. It's over, Renji, I've won. Ichigo said while panting in exhaustion. 5 minutes later, as Ichigo stood there, Renji managed to pick himself up, while coughing up blood. Damn, he got me, Renji thought. What was that, Zabumaru? Renji said as he looked towards Ichigo. Resolve. Renji acknowledges as he tried to move, but was finding it almost impossible. It hurts. My body feels heavy, I can't feel my legs. I can't lift my arms. Renji notices. Have I really lost? He thought as he coughed up more blood. Damn it. Ah! Renji threw his head back and roared to the sky in anguish. Rukia. Another 5 minutes atop the stairs. As Ichigo and her group came to the top of the stairs, they noticed blood first few steps at the top of the stairs. As they got to the final step, they heard a voice call out to them. What took you so long, Ichi-chan? I figured that you would have been the only to have faced this guy. A man with a demonic-looking fox mask said, sitting on top of a beaten and bloody Kenpachi Zaraki. Naruto. Ichigo said, looking at her boyfriend who was covered in blood, which looked like to be mostly from the guy he was sitting. And done. Okay, here's chapter 10, and I know you're asking what happened in the fight between Naruto and Kenpachi, and I have no clue, and I'm the one typing this story. That's not good. Just joking, I will reveal the fight in time, but right, let's just say that the fight was one side and leave it at that. Just to let you know, I will not be updating this story for a while, since I will be working on my Dragon of Infinite and Lunar Fox stories. Blazing Dragon Challenge. What if Naruto decided to leave the village at a young age and go in search for his mother and father, even though the third had said they died when he was born, but they're alive, and thanks to a letter he know where to find them, a place called Fury, but one his way he meet a dragon, not just any dragon but the queen of all dragons, who decides to take him in and train him to be her heir. Harem can be changed, so what, but Miragen, Juvia, his sister Narumi and Naruko, triplets, with Naruto being the middle of the three triplets, Hisui Fury. I know I didn't do much to it, which upset me some. Lunar Fox. Naruto is just a normal kid until the day of team placements. Watch what happens when he finds out that his cat can talk and unlocks memories of his past life. For him it is a new start as he goes for his world to Earth to find and help the Senshi restore the Moon Kingdom. Harem Usagi, Amy, Hotaru, Kasumi must stay in the harem. Naruto of the Vizoreds is up for anyone that wants to make a different version of it. When Naruto was born, the Kyuubi was sealed in him, but what would happen if his mother and father were the Spirit King and Queen, thus making Naruto a prince? The villagers banished him when he was 13, but luckily the other Vizoreds took him in. Now watch as he throws a monkey wrench into Aizen's plan with the help of Ichigo, and a sister he never knew he had. Harem Naruko is a must, Fem Ichigo is a must as well, Kyuubi is also a must, and Kukaku is a must as well. Retsu Unohana, Soi Fan, Rangaku, Soda no Shirayuki, Yoruichi, and Neliel maybe if you wish to add them. Equestria Prince is also up. Everyone thought that Princess Celestia and Princess Luna were the only ones that ruled over Equestria, but what if they were wrong? What if there was a prince, and this said prince was Naruto Uzumaki, and said reason why no one knew about him was because he was never in Equestria that much, but now that he come back, how will Equestria deal with the maelstrom that is to come? Anthroponies, Harem Celestia, Luna, CA Dance, Vinley Scratch, and any other that you wish to use. Naruto was not born human like most would think. Naruto was born a devil, just like his parents Kushina Bale and Minato Citri. On the day of his birth they planned to take him to the underworld to be raised and trained before return back to Leaf Village, but all that was changed the moment the nine-tailed fox attacked the village. Forced to do the unthinkable, Minato and Kushina sealed the fox into their son, unknowingly throwing him to wolf, so to speak. Seeing as the third Hokage had other plans for Naruto, that is until he died, giving his life protecting the village from Orochimaru. Now with his godmother leading the village, Naruto finally get the chance to live with the family he was meant to be with since day one. Naruto and Rias are cousin due to Kushina being Venelana's sister. While Naruto relationship Sona and Serafal is up to you. Choices down below.
Naruto could be the grandson of Lord and Lady Citri, the son of Serafal, making him the great-grandson of Lord and Lady Citri and nephew of Sona, or he can be Sona and Serafal's cousin, all up to you. Magic, Wind, Water, Ice abilities, Sage Mode, Kyuubi Chakra Mode, Power of Destruction.
Weapon: Excalibur Ruler, Peerage, Queen, Yasaka, Rook, Baiko and Zenobia, Bishop, Lefay and Kuroka, Knight, Arthur and Elaine, Han, Valley. Peerage must stay as is, or if you can come up with one that like and agree to, you may use that one.
Harem Rias, Revel, Fiancé, Kuroka, Yasaka, Zenobia, Kaneko, Lefay. Others may be add besides Sakura or any of the older women from the Naruto series. Down below are little points in the story, all of which is before DxD canon, after which the rest is up to you. Age 13 moves to the underworld. Age 15 challenges Riser to a fight for Rais. Age 16 leaves the underworld and moves to Kyoto, where he meets the yokai leader Yasaka. Age 17 Naruto meets Team Valley and recruits them into being members of his peerage. Age 18 Naruto and his peerage move Ko, and the start of canon begins. Instead of being trained for 3 years, Naruto is taken to his remaining family and is told that he will no longer be living in the village C, as he was never meant to be raised in the village in the first place. Naruto challenges Riser to a rating game for Ria's hand in marriage. The game won't take place until the time it would take place in canon, giving Naruto time to get a peerage together, while making a bet where the loser's peerage goes to the winner, to where he wins and gains Riser peerage. It's up to you if you wish to go with the winner getting the loser's peerage. On his 16th birthday, Naruto leaves the underworld and moves to Kyoto, where he meets Yasaka and her daughter and asks to learn Senjutsu from. A year of living in Kyoto and mastering Senjutsu, Naruto meets Team Valley as well as Office, the later demanding Naruto to help her defeat Great Red, while the former demands a fight only for Valley to get his ass handed to him. with Office Naruto help her realize that there is more to the world than silence.
Somewhere between the age 15 and 18 Naruto fights against Kurama and gains his trust and ability to use his chakra, but upon beating Kurama Naruto meets his parents and gets to know them for the time that they have with the amount of chakra that was sealed inside of Naruto. Before their final moments they tell Naruto about a marriage contract that he has with Lord and Lady Phoenix to marry their daughter Revel Phoenix. The end. Now we will see you in the next video.